This is Trina Michaels, and you're listening to the Unsanctioned Podcast.
Gotta bring the city back, let me know we still here, never gonna stop. Keep rolling like a wheelchair, can't be shook. You know the wolf smell fear, throw him in the trunk, turn your man to a straight stick. No tire, just money, so
welcome to a special WrestleMania weekend edition of the Unsanctioned Podcast. I'm Luis Vasquez. You can find me on Twitter at LuisVasquez617.
That's your boy Jay Holland. You can find me across social media at JAYOCITY. Unless it's on Facebook at that 781 at the end.
And this is Julio June. Welcome.
The eagle has landed.
You sent the bird out on time.
I did.
It's a big four episode.
Big four.
Gotta be here on time.
Big four episode. Do you think, Jay?
I think that number 4 is relatively relevant right now.
Very
Speaking
relevant.
that we have co-host for this WrestleMania edition, Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. How are you doing, my brother?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. We just came from, Jay and I were at the live show.
Yep.
Live from Fenway Park overlooking the field. He couldn't beat this view. And thank you guys for having me on. It's I love where the show has gone since, I guess, you guys started in July, or was that August?
You were number one.
First episode.
Yeah.
You was the launch.
Am I the first in-person guest?
Yes, you
Yes.
are.
All right. Hey,
You're a lot of firsts for everything.
Yeah.
First in studio.
First in studio.
First guest, first episode, first in studio.
First ever. A
now.
lot of firsts.
And we got to get
into
you
your
guys.
legacy.
Starcast, I think, is definitely on your.
That might
should be on your end of
We
summer
are
list.
we are looking to be all in, all the way around.
But thank you, all three of you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No,
Always
thank you
happy
for
to
joining us, man. You guys already know this is the Unsanctioned Podcast. We are now sanctioned over your airwaves. Let's get it.
Show me where you at, show me where you at. Yeah. If you getting money, homie, show me where you at. All my bring the grind to the track. If you getting money, homie, show me where you at. Show me where you at, show me where you at.
You're locked into the Unsanctioned Podcast. This is the special WrestleMania weekend edition featuring 4 co-hosts.
Four.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right. What's up, JB? How you doing? How you feeling?
We
How's
we
WrestleMania
are
looking?
Absolutely privileged to be joined by Justin today.
Yes.
You're really pumping my tires right now.
Oh, no,
Thank you very much for this.
Well, you know what it is? Like, I think it's because we know you personally, and we know where you started at in regards to covering professional wrestling and sports entertainment. We don't want to alienate.
It's 7 years
WWE.
now. Isn't that crazy? Time flies.
Exactly.
That's
Like,
good.
but,
Wow.
But you
Yeah.
carved your own niche, like when you with the Boston Herald, like they wasn't covering it. You forged a way and it made it something that you can cover, and then you only elevated from there. So I think that's very admirable. And it's a great teaching lesson for those who are listening and kids who want to know how they can get into covering professional wrestling and Sports Illustrated. Just never give up on your dreams.
And I think there's something to be said too about like the way. And I'm not perfect, but I like the way I cover it. I like the Wednesday column. I love doing feature writing. But I just think you want to stay up to date too. When I started in pro wrestling, writing at least, there was, I thought, not a lot of long form. Like everything was short. You actually have a lot of long form in wrestling now. You can get some, like there was that Cody Rhodes piece on The Ringer I was just thinking of. Like that was a great piece. You can find long form now. So I thought, all right, how can I evolve as a writer? And I've been fortunate to work with a really strong editor, or editors, but Andy Gray in particular at Sports Illustrated, who's kind of helped shape the vision a little bit too. And I love what the column, I like how it started. I really like where it is now. Like the idea that, sure, we can open with a Cody Rhodes interview, or we can open with a Sasha Banks interview, but we could sprinkle in some Matt Riddle, or we could sprinkle in some Ricochet when he was on the indie scene, or we could, I just think it's such a great tool to highlight the world of wrestling, which WWE can't do in their programming because they only want you to know about their program, right?
Yep.
And I get it, so it's kind of a nice tool for us to do. But I wonder too for journalists who are looking to get into wrestling, like I think you could make your own kind of weekend wrestling version for the indies, just independent based. But there's so many good wrestling writers out there. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Which I wonder,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here with you guys for WrestleMania. It's funny. Every star in the world, I feel like is on this card. Man, I don't know. I feel like there's no buzz for NXT. And Mania is missing that oomph.
And do you think it's intentional though? Because NXT tends to steal the show. It's tough to steal WrestleMania. It's tough to overshadow WrestleMania, but
I personally think
just saying
they just don't have the star power in NXT that they had the last few WrestleMania
When you
weekends.
had Finn Balor, when you had Shinsuke Nakamura
they
debuting, when you had Samoa Joe.
I think they do though, and I think the problem is that guys like Ricochet you haven't really seen as much. People know of Ricochet, people know of EC3, but they haven't really seen them in WWE programming recently. So I think this is the introduction of them, or reintroduction for some of them, back into the WWE audience. So I don't think that they lack the star power, especially now that they're introducing the North American Championship. I think it's actually WWE is trying to suppress NXT right now for this weekend because, as Luis mentioned, usually TakeOver literally takes over the big weekends. You know what I mean? And outside of a few occasions where you have your Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, for instance, we primarily talk about NXT.
And they have that format, that TakeOver format down so well. You've got your 4 or 5 matches. You've got your kind of they span the crowd and they pick up on whether it's Scott Hall or Jim Ross or EC3 the last show. I don't know. I don't think they're suppressing it, but I kind of go with Julio. I just don't think there's now the Ricochet is a major star, but we don't know him well enough yet in NXT. We will, but the timing's so weird. By next year, will people be calling for him to go to the main roster? I like Bobby Roode a lot. I think he's a great technician. I don't think he's a megastar. He was their last well-known champ. Ty Dillinger probably should have stayed longer. I mean, he's an afterthought now, which is a shame.
Such a shame.
Oh, I mean, a talented
He falls
guy.
into the Dolph category.
It's an NXT curse for a few folks. Once you Ty Dillinger, Aiden English, and Simon Gotch when they first came up, the Ascension.
But why can't you go back though? I don't understand. Go back.
Yeah.
Get over
minor league
again.
options?
Pardon me?
Like minor league options?
Why not go
But
back?
when NXT first started, you had guys like Cesaro went back to developmental and did some time down there. And
But I think that was
Zack
to
Ryder should
elevate
go
the
down.
other
He'd be
ones.
great. Like certain guys, if you moved up back and forth, I don't think anyone would be upset that we'd have this
especially
variety.
the guys on the lower part of the card.
Or reset a guy like Mike Bennett, send him down to
Absolutely.
NXT. He would
now he could be
flourish in that
champion there.
environment.
Absolutely. Or at least he's somebody, and he can say he came from the main roster.
Right.
And that could be kind of his cocky gimmick. Oh, I completely agree. It seems like with Mike, they just wanted Maria.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was like, he honestly would be in NXT if Maria didn't come up with him.
I don't even know if he'd be signed, which is insane because he's so talented.
Super talented.
Yeah.
And he's gotten back in tremendous shape.
Had Impact had been paying them checks on time, I think he still would have been there. And we all know who broke that story over here, our good friend Justin Barrasso.
Impact wasn't a big fan of that story. Go figure.
You know what? I wanted to
Did you
ask
hear from them?
Multiple times.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
But
I'll still. We have I'll have some pieces with them right after WrestleMania. So
Great.
I mean, I think that like any
They know what you're doing. They know you're professional.
Sure, and
they
it's-
need the
understand it.
coverage.
that was one of the hardest stories I wrote because with Jeff Jarrett. Now it all broke after the fact, but I didn't want to get too personal into his personal demons. And he went to rehab, so it all became public. But I just don't necessarily feel like that's my place to talk about. Like there were parts of that story that I tried to add some humanity into. Whether or not they recognize that or he recognized that, they probably didn't care, right? It's not a positive story. But part of this job is definitely breaking news that isn't positive. So, yeah, that was... Again, they didn't love it, but it was
Hold on.
it was what it was.
This is what I wanted to ask you about, because when you first came out with the story, Jeff Jarrett was very adamant that there was no truth behind it.
Yes. And Impact was too. Impact denied each part of that story.
But I was highlighting Jeff Jarrett for the simple fact that when he left Impact, he highlighted that they didn't have any money. And it felt like it contradicted what he was saying. It only made your story proof that you were telling the truth. Now, I understand that when you're with the company, you want to defend the company, especially when you're a founder behind it. But I wanted to, get your thoughts on it. When you actually heard him publicly say, Impact has no money. I wanted to see what your mind frame was about.
Well, it's
that.
interesting because I spoke with so many different guys in that roster, so I knew kind of I think I had that confirmed 7 times before that story ran. So it wasn't like I was guessing, or it wasn't like I was taking a shot in the dark. I was very confident in that piece. And I figured they deny it, right? Because they actually had a conference call. I mean, I could be wrong on the dates here, but let's say it ran on a Tuesday. They had a conference call that same day, or it ran Monday night, and the conference call was on Tuesday for one of their talents. I forget which talent was on. Maybe it's Josh Matthews or someone. But it was interesting because, how do they respond to it? And it's just easier to say it's not true. But I think that, and I respect Impact. I think the misinterpretation was I want Impact to fail, which couldn't be further from the truth. I like watching Impact. I thought EC3 was fantastic there. There's so many different talents. I'm a huge Eddie Edwards fan, and that's not just because he's from the Boston area, but from Peabody. But no, I thought it was interesting that they denied, but every part of that story, except for the fact that they were trying to sell, they've admitted to. And you can't admit that you're trying to sell because you instantly lose value. But if the right price came along, even now, you wonder, like, would Billy Corgan and the NWA, would they buy? Would Dorian Roldan and AAA, would they buy? Probably. I think even though it's a barter deal, Pop TV is still TV, and that's still so valuable.
Do you think, talking about Jeff Jarrett in WrestleMania weekend, do you think WWE is exploiting the fact that he had an issue and he had demons that he just came over, inducting him in the Hall of Fame?
That's actually a great question. I mean, what someone might say is exploitation, somebody else might say is enhancing, because it's definitely beneficial to Jeff. I wonder, and I've got to research this and I've got to ask around. I think it's a great story, right? Any kind of rehab, will he recover? What'll happen next? Who knows? But I wonder, I mean, WWE has to have a new SmackDown GM. Would Jarrett fit there on camera? I don't think so.
Would Hogan?
I don't think so either. But I think that Jarrett fits, though. I think Jarrett does fit, and I have heard this from a couple people in the industry. Jarrett fits on that team, Paul Levesque, Triple H team of people. Like, I would think, to me, Jarrett's next step is in Florida. He's at the Performance Center. Nobody has his type of background. I mean, whether you like Jeff or you don't, like, he's made something out of nothing on multiple occasions. I think you could use a guy like that at the Performance Center in Florida. I would think that's his next step. And for as many places in the world there are to work in wrestling, it's still a limited field. Like, if he doesn't go to the Performance Center, let's say, well, he's probably not going back to Impact. He's probably not going to go to Ring of Honor. I don't see New Japan, plus you're in a different country. I would think his next step, especially like Triple H is slowly building his team, right? Jeremy Borash and some different people. It's smart, right? I mean, especially if I still think there is some, and it's tough to say this because the easy thing to say is, oh, Barrasso's wrong. But I don't think Vince McMahon is necessarily looking to sell, but I think he's entertaining in the idea. I just think if you look at all those, and I'm working slowly on this piece, if you look at all their moves, I truly believe, in whether it's Fox or I think it's the time's ripe right now to sell. And if he can hit that $4 billion number, or he can hit some ridiculous number,
he's gone.
Yeah, just even the Bryan timing, right? Why is Bryan weeks before WrestleMania cleared? I mean, you have to question that. It's just such odd timing. Hogan, they confirmed discussions with him right before Mania. It's Taker's coming back. It's just amazing that it just seems like it's the best time to sell.
Oh, we know why they cleared Daniel Bryan. They don't want him to be all in.
Yeah, well, he would have, and he was going to go elsewhere to wrestle.
Yep.
But
we know what elsewhere is too. Like I think,
and he can turn the needle elsewhere. He can turn the needle elsewhere.
Brian Cage touched on it a little bit too. Like we during a previous episode we had made him play Booker, and he said he would love to see Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, Ring of Honor specifically. But if you think about it, if you can have them at an All In Chicago, I think that hurts WWE across the board.
Oh, definitely. And if you're Punk, what a great way to stick it to your former employer to work this show, right? Like
with Cody.
With Cody. With Kenny Omega, a guy they should have held on to. And
the cease and desist boys, the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. So I think that they need Punk for that show for sure, especially now they're not going to get Bryan. They've still got to re-sign Bryan. And the tough thing is, we're not going to know, like, why did they decide to clear him? And I mean, they'll give us the company line, but it's interesting to wonder. Just the timing is so suspicious. Yeah. Unless they cleared him months ago and they said we're going to wait till Mania, I don't think that's the case.
I wish it was old school Vince McMahon, because old school Vince McMahon would have ran a show in Chicago, same weekend. Got everybody he could have. The Rock, everybody, no matter what the cost was, he would have got them all there, and you would have had a competing show. But we don't have that business.
But you know what it is? I think Cody was smart in this regard. They didn't announce where they were doing it until WWE built out their schedule for 2018. And I mean, maybe that's in Cody's blood. With his father being Dusty, a great and legendary booker in his own right. But I think it was very strategic. They built around it. They built the episodes of being the elite around it, and they built a suspense for it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing: if it doesn't succeed the way that they are promoting it a full year in advance,
it's going to sell out. They're getting
fall
12,000
flat on their face.
I agree.
They're getting 12,000.
It's not just a sellout. Hopefully, the product in the ring isn't just names, and it's good wrestling.
Well, going back to WrestleMania, you guys were at WWE Boston. All right, I didn't get the chance to go. I wish I could have. I was on daughter duty, but I wanted to ask you guys, what was the vibe What were you seeing in the ring? What were you seeing backstage? What was the vibe for WrestleMania?
I'd say about, I'm ballparking and I'm being generous, about 5,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Give or take. I'm being generous.
Yeah, definitely.
The TD Garden holds about what, 16,000?
17.
17 to 18.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, but it was definitely light. But I think the talent was just more about showing personality and having fun. I mean, it wasn't one of those hard-hitting events or.
Right.
I think they were taking it easy, taking it gentle, and it's like, hey, we're gonna give the people entertainment, but at the same time, make sure we don't hurt ourselves.
I bet you there was an edict backstage before they went out. Make sure nobody gets hurt.
Absolutely. and a great example of that was a match I was really looking forward to, because live shows are so much, house shows are so much fun because guys are loose, or the workers are loose instead of on television, and it's so much more freedom. But I was really looking forward to Balor Rollins.
Yeah.
And that match was really, say it was 12 minutes. It was 10 minutes of no action. And the last two was constant. Last two made up for it. But I expected tonight we'd see a lot of prep for Mania. Let me try this. Let me try that. What works? Yeah. I think they already know and they already have it planned. I think tonight was, let's make sure we don't make mistakes. Let's make sure we don't get hurt.
Yep.
And the show was still fine.
Yep.
But in the main event, I can't believe I'm saying this. It went longer than I thought. And it was probably
beat 37 seconds. I'll tell you that.
It did. It was 5 minutes. I mean, you knew when it was going to end because once Brock threw Braun into the steps and it was Brock and Kane in the ring alone, you knew Kane was taking that pin. But overall, I mean, not great, but it was a good night.
I look at the house shows. I'm like, now if this was Raw, Braun would have been slammed through a table, got up, and he would have broke up the pinfall. But to Justin's credit, I believe they was just taking it easy. When you look at it, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy came out, and that feud is looking like it's going to continue in some form or fashion.
Interesting when Bray said, if he'll say this on television, said he wasn't deleted.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you explain what happened? Yeah.
Very clear that he wasn't being deleted.
Not to knock the cruiserweights, but I love the fact that Bray came out and, give his sister Abigail to Tozawa.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to knock on the cruisers, but I'd love to see him do more of like he's supposed to be a agent of havoc, right? I think they've got so far away from the point of that character, that Bray Wyatt character.
I think never broke him away from the stable.
Nah, I think it's perfect.
If you did, why would you though? I'm still waiting for a reason like, he's better off on his own because I don't know the answer to that yet.
Should never broke him away.
He's a cult leader.
Nobody benefited from that breakaway. Nobody.
And
except for Braun.
Right.
And he was one of the latest members.
Right.
And he came on really
you
late.
actually forget that Braun was part of them.
Right.
He's so good on his own.
Yeah.
That's was interesting tonight too. It's almost like, who do we cheer for? So Jax, I guess she's a babyface now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Braun. Is Braun a babyface? I don't think we have that covered yet.
Yeah, he's definitely babyface.
Yeah. I mean, he posed for the crowd to end the show, so I guess Braun's a babyface. Balor, I thought, and even the I was going to call them the Bullet Club, even the club, it looks like they're babyfaces.
Yeah, they're
now.
babyfaces by association.
I feel like everybody's a face now.
I'm kind of waiting.
There's so much uncertainty. Which way are we going?
I'm kind of waiting for Finn to make that turn because like he kind of in some ways alluded to it. I don't know if you caught it, but in the match tonight, he kind of grabbed Rollins' tights a little bit, and then the reversal happened. But yeah, man, like it does seem like everyone's a face. But I think once again, that's just more so house shows, and it is sealing it in until WrestleMania, and then they're gonna do the repackaging of everyone and the shake-up of the superstars, and then we'll see something fresh.
Because it seemed like with Balor, they wanted to go full heel, and they got cold feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came close, but do we really want to? I don't know.
You know what I think happens is the fact that when you're a heel, you have to do more mic work, and sometimes Vince doesn't love the accent.
Whose accent?
Vince has a problem.
The Balor.
But I think
Vince has a problem with accents.
I think that's when he paired them with I'm gonna say Bullet Club. I mean that's just what they are to me. When he put them with Gallows and Anderson, in New Japan, Carl Anderson was the mouthpiece, for that stable, when it was Balor. And I think that's why he put them together now, not just with familiarity, but to also be the mouthpiece.
But Carl Anderson also started as the mouthpiece for Gallows with AJ Styles, too.
Yep.
And then Styles finally, by the time Let's Beat Up John Cena, like you could see Styles had found his voice.
Yep.
And all of a sudden he could use his natural tone he's got a southern accent. Who cares? But at the beginning, it seemed like they were trying to hide that, which is crazy. But yeah, Balor, even the Raw 25, which looking back at that, it's like, where have we gone from there? But Balor on Raw 25 they got the rub from the Click, from, against the Revival. Yeah, so it's just, I'm surprised they haven't gone deeper into Balor. Curious if he wins the Intercontinental title. I don't know. I think he has to win that match. Not Rollins, but it has to be Balor.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's one of them because I think The Miz is out.
Right.
I think he's got to go spend time with his family, new child, and we're going to see a new champ.
I'm going to save it for my prediction, but.
So do we want to hop into one of these events on the weekend?
Let's start with the WWE Hall of Fame since we already alluded with Jeff Jarrett there. You have Goldberg. Yeah, who's being inducted by Paul Heyman, which kind of caught me off guard. So,
JB, I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Paul Heyman inducting Goldberg. Is it too fresh off the feud?
Yeah, it's funny. So I have a piece with Goldberg coming out post-Mania, and that's an interesting discussion too, right? Like, Goldberg's been open. He was open on Busted Open Radio about the fact that Brock was so good to him.
Yeah.
And about that feud, and it just happened. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think we all know it's a work, and if you don't, you probably don't care the fact that they're talking so openly about it. I don't know. I don't mind the reality part of it. I don't think they could find, besides Hogan, I don't think you could find anybody better than Heyman or Brock. I think they don't like Brock talking. For what reason?
What about Eric Bischoff?
Yes.
Yes, but I thought of that. They just did Bischoff last year with DDP, so I don't think they'd want to go back again. That's actually a great point, but I just think you just did Bischoff.
Yeah.
Right? And I think they're hesitant to give him too much credit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to give him credit.
They gave him. I think in
their
their beginning, they already gave him enough.
Right. Deep down, we all know, though.
But
Right.
Me personally, I think if you are going to reintroduce Hulk Hogan, that is the perfect way to do it, is to induct Bill Goldberg. Because he, whether he wanted to or not, put Goldberg in that position in Atlanta, Georgia, his hometown, to go over and win that championship.
Can you risk
maybe the biggest mistake in WCW history, though? Maybe. Right. I know it was a short-term payoff, long-term, man. They just you don't give away something for free that you can get people to pay for in this business.
Can you risk on WrestleMania weekend, your first event, the biggest person being inducted, to hear boos from the crowd?
I don't think people boo Hogan. I think it's far removed. I don't think they boo Hogan.
You don't think anybody boos Hogan?
Well, at a Mania show, at a Mania Raw, I don't think so. Now at a house show in Chicago or a house show in Vancouver, excuse me, not a house show, a Raw, like a random Raw in July, or I don't know. But I think you're right. The Mania crowd, I guess you don't know though.
Right.
They'll probably give them a welcome back chant, if anything.
There are 3 people of color in the room right now. Okay, and so before I ask us, I'd love to know a yes or no from you, Justin. Not to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna go around. Yes or no? Would you welcome him back? Just a yes or no.
Feels like you put him on the spot.
Can I say? I know, right? Can I say I don't know? I mean,
okay. Because my answer is yes. As a person of color, I'll welcome him back. He did his time. It was an apology. It was a mistake, and he was being recorded without knowing. We've all said something.
I think there's more to that story, right?
Et cetera, et cetera. I think, hey, why not? There's no denying his place in the business.
Absolutely. And
you can't erase him from history.
You can't scrub him from history, right?
So I'm
regardless
ready.
of how you feel. I agree.
My answer is a yes.
My question, though, is how do they handle it? Like, do they ignore it and he just comes back and it's
right,
or
100%.
We don't even discuss it. Does he come back and say I'm sorry, and then we move on? Like, I think
first and foremost, he should apologize to the locker room,
of course,
before he does anything.
Right.
I think the shareholders make that decision.
But if you don't address it.
Right.
Because how do you have Hulk? The problem I'd have is if he comes back, he's in like the Babe Ruth or Joe DiMaggio type role. He's doing media. Isn't that a part of every interview? Say you're working with the talent to not make mistakes. All right, then what about Gawker? Is that part of the interview? There's just so many topics with Hulk that are so complicated where I think if you do bring him back, I think you're better off bringing him back for a one-off, a Hall of Fame. You introduce somebody, you make a little speech, something like that.
See how it goes.
I don't think he can be back full-time, though. I think he can. Yeah. He's not, expelled or expunged from WWE history anymore, which was probably silly to begin with. But so would I go full-time with him? No. Yeah. I'd definitely bring him back, but I think you're better off with one-offs.
I agree. Julio, would you welcome him back?
Welcome him back?
Or not welcome? Would you be accepting
Choose your words
that he's back on a WWE screen?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
I I would understand why they do it, honestly, because you can't scrub him from history. I think it would have to be a one-off type thing. I don't think it's a thing where you could see him every week. It'd honestly be tough for me to see him on the screen and feel the same way that I did about him as I once did. So
Agreed.
I'm going to go no.
So no.
I'm going to say no.
I think we know too much at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's been so much
and I've heard
exposed.
Yeah.
Not even just about that situation, but like
Yeah.
Justin was saying, the Gawker issue, his family life. Like, there's just so much
The
stuff.
phone call with the son and
Yeah.
when the accident.
Yeah.
Just some tough
I
stuff.
try to see the separation between Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea. I try.
Yeah.
I try. I wouldn't cheer for him and all that coming back, but hey,
not only
there's
that,
no denying his place in
on
history.
On an entertainment factor, he's not entertaining to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember his time as an authoritative figure in TNA, he always flubbed up his lines.
Even with WWE,
Always
the
flubbed
stuff
up
with
his
The
lines.
Rock.
Like,
Silverdome
it was
and
bad.
WrestleMania.
And he's getting
Yeah.
older. So it's
not going to get better.
It's not going to get better.
Jay?
Only if it was a Hall of Fame. Outside of that, I don't want to see him.
Okay.
I mean, and I think if you bring him back, then there's no reason why you can't bring back someone of a Ken Shamrock.
Sonny.
Sonny's been out there. She has her own little demons. But I mean, maybe I'm petty, but I think about how they treated Macho Man. Macho Man was never welcomed back, and so he wasn't even inducted until he passed. He was inducted posthumously. So I look at that, and it's just like, I'm not sure. I mean, there's always rumors about what may have happened and why Macho Man was kept away, and other WWE superstars who don't even know why they're being kept away from the company. But I would not want to see him back unless it's a Hall of Fame.
Jay, can I follow up with a question real quick?
Yep.
You say WrestleMania, Hall of Fame. What about something like, and I think they need him for this, Saudi Arabia? Like, to me, he's a big draw for that crowd.
Nope.
They don't see Hulk Hogan. You wouldn't want to see him there.
Nope. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because that's a new market and it's the 50-man Royal Rumble, the largest ever. I would not give him that platform.
Would you understand why the company did it if they brought him back for that show?
Well, yeah, because money talks.
Sure.
But like I said, it's like how MLB uses Pete Rose. He's banned.
Except for when we need you.
Yeah, when we need you. Oh, it's the All-Star game, and
Come on
our
down.
sponsor
The
is
Hit
not.
King.
Our sponsor's not going to let us do anything unless you're a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get it. I get it from that aspect. But
I will say this: the climate socially in the world is conducive for them to bring him back now. It's like the timing is perfect now with the climate of the world socially.
I don't know with Trump.
That's what I'm saying. The
but
climate is perfect for him to be coming back now.
But here's my other. I guess if I'm flipping a coin on the side of it, when we speak to our guests, especially, we've had a few guests of color on this platform. A lot of them mention that they're great with him.
They're good with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
He was
great
great
relationship,
great to
you know what I
them,
mean?
yeah.
Ernest and Cat Miller. Whether
Everybody.
I'm not sure if it was 100% true, but he gave us the story of how Hogan wanted to put him over. Granted, he wanted to win the title back at Thunder the same week or the following week.
Nevertheless.
Yeah,
But he was willing.
But he was willing to put him over. And then you hear about how
In an interview with Booker T, he said the same thing to me.
Yeah,
he
well-
wouldn't be where he was if it wasn't for Hulk.
yeah,
Right, I
well,
saw
Harlem
that,
Heat.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
And-
certain things of that nature that make you think like that's great. And you know what I mean?
Doesn't excuse what he said,
No.
but it's interesting that his peers think a certain way of him. Absolutely.
Yeah. And his excuse because he said it was part of his language growing up and where he grew up at. You know what I mean? And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But you have to be aware of where it's acceptable.
We'd be
saying
stupid to think that Hulk Hogan's the only person in that WWE locker room
Oh, we
who's
know
ever been in
better.
that locker room to ever
Absolutely.
use that word. So
Right. And so the rumor is he wants one more WrestleMania match.
No.
In your crystal ball, does that happen,
Hell no.
Justin?
Never again. I mean, there might be a slam, right? There might be a slam. I don't know if he can do a leg drop anymore because of his back, but I don't think. I mean, he was talking about that a couple of years ago, and I think it's fair to say if at WrestleMania 40, if he's still here at WrestleMania 50, he'll be talking about one more match. So.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that. I do think there's potential for Hogan if he doesn't come back to Mania. I'd be surprised if we didn't see. I'm surprised we didn't this year. I'll be even more surprised next year if we don't see him at Wrestle Kingdom next year with New Japan. I think that Hogan and the Bullet Club, especially, they're going to need maybe they'll need a shot in the arm next January, a year from now, or what's 10 months from now, I think that he's a great fit for New Japan. But I just don't see it in WWE.
They gotta, they gotta bring out my boy Tama. Tama has to.
Unless you're Vince McMahon and you want to sell, then bring back Hogan. Get your profitability as high as you possibly can, and then you can sell, and it's somebody else's problem. I don't know. I think that, again, you look at Vince's moves, I think there's a lot of credence to the idea that maybe he's entertaining the idea that somebody else could own this company.
Now, the next inductee, and I want to get everyone's opinion on this if we feel it's too soon. Mark Henry.
He put in his time, but it is too soon.
There's no rules to me when it comes to Hall of Fame.
Nowadays.
I love Mark Henry.
Right.
He's been around since '96.
Yep.
Extraordinary athlete. Did so much for them behind the scenes.
Yep.
Would it be nice if they had a rule that you had to wait 5 years? Sure, but I just feel like they up is down with the Hall of Fame. It's not. Is it real? Is it not? So yeah, you want to honor a guy like Mark Henry who's been so good to the company. I'm okay with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like he's
deserving.
Yeah.
Absolutely deserving.
Yeah.
Absolutely
He's
deserving.
legit. He could close the show.
Yeah.
I know Goldberg probably will. But you could close with Henry.
He's definitely deserving.
Mark Henry, the all-time greatest promo in my eyes was the fake retirement.
Oh, he got
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He got
Oh
it.
yeah.
Promo
It was
hands
the best
down.
one he ever did.
I was like, wow, did he get hurt? Did
Right.
he injure something?
Right.
Like-
His Hall of Pain run,
oh
Yeah.
extremely underrated.
That's what I do.
Should have been a WWE champion.
Yes.
Speaking of race and race and wrestling,
Oh, we're aware.
We brought that up on this podcast several
Multiple
times
times.
to our guests.
how many African American champions have there been in company history? WWF/E champions.
One.
And he's championed as.
He's Samoan.
Samoan.
Right.
It's insane.
Yes, we talked about this a
Yeah.
lot.
Even
To the point, I don't want our podcast listeners to be like, they must have a racial agenda.
The only thing that kills me is I just rewatched that WrestleMania, but Triple H,
Booker T.
Booker
brought
T.
that up. Oh, man.
I don't
Yeah,
I don't
man.
necessarily mind though
We
that
talk
Triple
about
H.
it almost every episode.
I don't mind that Triple H wins the match, but if you watch the last 8 minutes of that match, the story shifts. Triple H becomes the babyface. The way he fights back, even Ross talks about it on the broadcast. He's persevering. He's fighting back. He's coming from underneath. So he all of a sudden is the babyface. Booker then has to be the heel because you only have one good guy, one bad guy in a match. It's good versus bad. It is the most like those 8 minutes are like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. If he cheated to win or did something dastardly, I get it. But it seems like what were they thinking? Now that's supposed to be Scott Steiner in that spot. So maybe they didn't know what to do, but man.
Whoa.
And-
we didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be Steiner, Triple H. And Steiner was supposed to win the belt and then drop it back, but the Steiner thing was a disaster.
They had
Yeah.
zero chemistry, him and Triple H.
Yeah.
Triple H. That Royal Rumble match was horrible. That they
Awful.
had.
Oh, yeah.
That's a compliment.
Yeah,
It is. It was that bad, yeah.
And not to harp on this WWE champion topic, but they have nothing in the system to show me that in the next few years that you'll see this change at
Which
all.
is ridiculous because I like Kofi Kingston, but Big E is to me the rarest guy in 2018 because he's a babyface that people cheer. People want to boo the good guys. Right. He is so funny. He is talented in the ring. He's got a very unique size. He's big, but he's agile. He's versatile. Like Big E, the fact that he's still part of a tag team, in a 3-man tag team. Like it's like you could break them up and you could still do things with Kofi and Xavier. Why is Big E not competing for the world title?
I mean, I think it's a lot too, man. Titus had some backing from Batista. You know what I mean? Like
Titus is also in an advanced age.
Yeah, but
I don't think
we
he's
can't
really
act
good.
like we haven't seen advanced age champions. We
Yeah.
have. You know what I mean? Like they're we spoke about it earlier. If they want to put the title on you, they will put the title on you.
That's true.
They will find a
Early
way.
Miz.
Yep.
I don't think
Miz.
Titus is the right guy. I don't think he talks well enough. I don't think he works well enough.
Yeah.
Give him a mouthpiece. All you need is like he can
But
have
you've
a
got
gender
Big
run.
E. Big E can do all that.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Kofi would be a great champ.
I was going to
Yes.
ask you about
Well,
Kofi.
Of course.
I don't know
think
if the
they blew
boat
their
sailed
time with
away,
Kofi.
but
It's
we're
sailed.
seeing
Their
a lot
time
of.
with Kofi.
It sailed away.
There'll be a time.
They,
I think
they
it's-
should have capitalized after that Orton feud, and he went over on Orton. They should have
It sailed
pushed
away.
him into
the
that.
only way Kofi wins the WWE title or a world championship is if he leaves the company and comes back in a couple of years, Chris Jericho style.
Or on accident, like an accidental elimination of a Royal Rumble and the title's on the line.
Because he's a little too small, but I think Kofi be a great world champ. But I think the big question is, what do you do with the New Day when you split them? Or how do you split them? Because I think at this point we've seen enough to know they're special, they're dynamic, they're amazing. Like that run they've had is Hall of Fame worthy, if that's even a real thing, because everything's Hall of Fame worthy. It seems like in that company. But what do you do next? I mean, why do you have to have them turn? Have two guys go to one brand, one guy go to the other? Big E, I think, is the biggest frustration in wrestling. That guy is so damn good, and sometimes he just sits on ringside.
Split them though. I think the way you do it, and you do it tastefully, is United States Championship, since they're on SmackDown right now. You have Big E win that. So now he is a singles champion within that group setting. And now you can have them, Kofi and Xavier win the tag titles. You know what I mean? So that way you kind of propel, like how the Shield started off. Mm-hmm. You had Ambrose.
Yeah, why can't they be like the Shield?
Yeah,
why do they have to be just a tag team?
You had Ambrose with the U.S. title, and then you had Reigns and Rollins with the tag titles. You know what I mean? It's something of that, and then you could just kind of build his run that way, But I think they're just collectively they're making a lot of money, they're a family-friendly product, which WWE realistically doesn't have outside of that.
See, you can split them up and just have them loosely affiliated.
Right, you don't have to have them turn. Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like, to me, any other tag team, if you had a guy that, Sean and Marty, if you got a guy that is destined to make you money, you split them and you run with that guy, because you only have tag teams to build single stars. Yeah. So the reason eventually especially in WWE, when a singles guy in Braun Strowman wins a tag team battle royal. I mean, tag team's such an afterthought, but they do make the money, and I think that's the key thing.
Yeah,
I think a title for Kofi would be a great nod to his career, and I want to go to your crystal ball again. Does Kofi get it before his career is over?
A singles title or a world title?
WWE title, WWE heavyweight title.
No. I don't. Okay. That's not saying he shouldn't.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, but I don't think Big E becomes world champ, which I think is insane. Now, on your point, if they left the company and came back, maybe, but I don't know.
I mean, I look at Shelton Benjamin. I feel Shelton Benjamin should have been a heavyweight champ at some point.
He never had the mouth for it.
I mean, but come on, Brock doesn't have a mouth. Brock has a name. Yes, we get it. I mean, there has been champions that haven't had the mouthpiece.
Brock Lesnar's special, though.
Why did Shelton come back? Why is he interested in the tag team titles? Why is Shelton Benjamin invested in his team? He's had no mic time. Mm-hmm. I can't invest in his character. No. And that's not a knock on his talent. But even Nakamura, why do I care about Shinsuke Nakamura? Why does he want to be world champion? Why does the WWE title mean something to him? And granted, there's the language barrier, but he knows English well enough to you've got to do a sit down, do something with these guys to make me care. AJ Styles, I care about him.
Do not Nakamura, sit down. Really. Don't have sit downs, because last time they did that, they had Roman Reigns saying "sucker and succotash." We don't need that.
No scripted sit downs.
Right.
Kind of let it roll off the tongue. Let it roll off the top of the brand.
Put subtitles if you need to with Nakamura. Do something to make me care. Benjamin, another guy, but I feel like so many of these guys are just cast away.
Mm-hmm. Hot topic for this induction.
I saw you get to that one. So
hot topic.
Yeah, go for it.
Kid Rock.
You got to put a celebrity in, I guess, and he's done enough appearances. So I got no.
How many?
I got no issues with it. It's like this kid's like Kid Rock's 7th WrestleMania.
Oh, is it?
To be honest,
come on.
I heard that
over Fred Durst.
Fred Durst. Come on, man. Fred Durst hasn't been relevant in how long?
Kid Rock's relevant?
He's more relevant
outside
than Fred
of that,
Durst.
he's running for senator.
We all here know.
Which party to which affiliation is the question. Yeah. Connect the dots.
Well, he still played stadiums up to
That's what I'm saying.
A year ago?
We know personally
was
Kid Rock.
Was he headlining the stadium?
But he was in the stadium.
But he was in there.
Fred Durst was in no stadium.
He was on stage. So was Jordan Sparks, okay?
Fred Durst hasn't been in the stadium since 2001.
Well, I mean, that's because he flipped off WWE camera.
It makes more sense, though, if he's not connected, but if Undertaker comes back as the American Badass, all of a sudden the Kid Rock thing, you can kind of connect the dots, it makes sense.
Yep.
And then you're not tarnishing that memory in Orlando last year.
But even if he does come back, they used Limp Bizkit. Yeah. They used Limp Bizkit's theme song for American Badass.
Roll at first, but it didn't fit as much as Kid Rock's American Badass.
I think we think of the Kid Rock one, personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
Kid
like
Rock,
that.
though. What other celebrity are we going to induct? Fred
the
Durst
one that they
do
introduce as a rapper, he doesn't even rap.
Fred Durst doesn't do it for me. That's
the frustrating thing. It's like, I want to applaud and write about and laud the fact that Mark Henry's going to Hall of Fame. Great career, did everything the right way, multiple times evolved and reinvented himself. Kid Rock?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like it demeans, to me, every time I want to treat it like a real thing, it's like they're like, you really shouldn't. Even the Bushwhackers, like they were around for a long time. They worked out. Demolition should be in the hall. The Bulldog should be in the hall.
Yeah.
I just did a piece with Jim Johnston. He should be in the hall.
Yes.
I love the Jim Johnston piece. Thanks for doing that.
He had a lot of insight. I thought it was, and I even thought his part about like no credits, so you don't really know who he is. Was a really interesting point.
And I saw that now he feels like he needs to try to create his own niche
again,
all over again.
Right, which is interesting.
Go to Impact.
Great piece.
I think he's looking to leave wrestling, but thank you. That's so much of that in the Dirty Secret in Writing podcast too, right? You need good guests. You need to have people that you want to hear. So I think it was great that he was a really fun interview. Thank you.
What was the headline so people know to Google it, or they put in the search bar on Sports Illustrated?
Yeah, if you put Jim Johnston, Sports Illustrated, we broke down. I wanted to open with a song. I wanted to open with an entrance song. And I said, because I knew that story about Rage Against the Machine. Steve Austin comes to him and says, I want it to sound like this, my theme song. And I just thought it was interesting that Jim talked about how Austin was unique. Guys wouldn't come up to you and say thank you. Guys wouldn't come back to you and say, I appreciate you doing this. He said that Steve was a real anomaly back then. That's before he was big, right? That's before. He just finished up as the ringmaster. So I thought it was so interesting, a look into Austin. And just like, how do you create a theme song? I can write, but I could never write music. He plays all his instruments. If he doesn't know how to play an instrument, he picks it up and he learns it. Yeah. That's insane to me. So I thought the whole thing was, it was the anatomy of an entrance song.
Well done piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. You. So what
next
do we got?
inductee. I wonder if they're going to bring back the Godwins for this one. Hillbilly Jim.
Long overdue.
Long overdue?
Yes, because you have the Bushwhackers in there. You have Coco Beware in there. You had these comedic guys who...
Is SD Jones in the Hall of Fame? I think he is.
I think he is.
Yeah.
SD Jones is in the Hall of Fame. Who's known from just looking up at the lights. The original jobber. So like Hillbilly Jim has... He's an iconic figure from our childhoods, from the rockin' wrestling era. It's like the most popular era of wrestling, so I think he's definitely a deserving.
You're running out.
He was the original Santino.
Yeah.
They're running out of headliners, though.
Yeah.
There's not many headliners.
Yeah.
The Rock's a headliner.
Yeah.
I think Rey Mysterio's a headliner.
Oh, they can get some headliners.
I mean,
There's
Batista,
not many left.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
But there's not many left.
The problem is they inducted so many big names. It's not a problem, but they inducted them when they started the Hall of Fame. Guys that could headline now or be big parts of it now. But the Hall of Fame was like in a banquet room back then. Yeah. It's so different now. So they really, in retrospect, rushed a lot of the early ones. But you can't re-induct, can you? I don't think.
It's like
you can do different factions. Yeah, I think
sure, like Flair's in twice. Yeah. Michaels could go in 3 times?
Yeah, right.
With the Rockers. I don't know if they want the association with Jannetty.
I don't see them doing the Rockers. I think they stop at DX and the Click.
Right. So he can go in multiple times. Yeah. Bret, though, Hart can go in with Jim Neidhart. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess,
They are running out of people, though.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way.
Yeah.
You're going to have Taker. We know that's coming down the line.
Well, I'll tell you one that could be a whole episode for itself. China.
Well, we was going to touch on that, but thank you for jumping the gun there.
China. It's a huge injustice, in my opinion.
But I think, don't get me wrong, she can't headline because, of course, she's not living.
Yeah, she can't.
You said yes.
That's a good question. Could you go on with someone who's deceased? Could you end the show with it? I don't think so, but it depends on the person.
Well, here's the reason why I say no.
Savage should have headlined.
That's what I'm saying. Once Savage didn't, he didn't.
No.
And once he didn't headline, it
believe
proved
Kevin.
that
He opened. I believe he opened.
Yeah.
I think Savage opened.
No, he was one of the last ones.
Yeah, because Zbyszko was
before.
before him.
Oh,
I think Nash closed that Hall of Fame, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, when you look at
Kevin Nash like that,
he was one of the worst grossing WWE champions.
It was a bad era for wrestling. Come on,
turn the business on upside
down.
A couple of years later.
He also was the leader of one of the biggest factions in wrestling at one of the hottest points of wrestling
ever,
which wasn't going to work without one man. Because they was going to have Sting in that role.
They all needed each other.
Yes, they definitely did. But Hogan needed that fresh start.
Yeah, but Kevin Nash and Scott Hall gave him that swagger to bring him to the new era.
It doesn't have that impact if it wasn't the same guy who told you to eat your vitamins and say your prayers.
And there's no chance that Hulk, if Sting was in the NWO role, there's no chance that Hulk was staying quiet for an entire year from the rafters.
Exactly.
So it worked out.
Could you imagine Hulk Hogan with face paint, red and yellow face paint?
Pointing to that.
For the Raptors.
Oh man.
What you gonna? He wouldn't even say that. He's just walking around. What's wrong with Hulk Hogan? Looking like the Great Buddha. Like
We forget. People forget. We forget because it's so long. Like those Nitro shows were so cutting edge. I wish they'd completely changed the 205 live shouldn't say the cruisers to like these car crash matches that we saw on Nitro. You can't have the same matches you're having with the heavyweights with the cruisers. We already see it. Exactly. Like I want to see a different style. Bischoff and company had that.
Shout out to the genius that is Eric Bischoff and why he is a deserving Hall of Famer himself.
Those 83 weeks, absolutely. He's all. I agree.
Deserving Hall of Famer himself.
How do we feel about the Warrior Award? Because I feel that some people feel like it's just there to be there, and then other people feel that it does have some impact. But
I will say this: some of the best speeches of Hall of Fame week in the last 4 or 5 years have come from the person who's won the Warrior Award.
But true. But I always thought that when it was first announced that it was supposed to be for like the people that aren't known, like the people behind the scenes,
right?
You know, and I mean, you see like this year's recipient, Jarius Robinson, big New Orleans Saints guy. You've seen him on the sidelines and stuff like that with the Saints games and things of that nature. Eric LeGrand, of course, everyone knows his story from Rutgers. And that's great that they're receiving those awards, but to me, I wanted to see someone within the company, like how the Red Sox are honoring Al Green. You know what I mean? A gentleman who's been with the organization for over 45 years. You know what I mean? It's
in the customer
turned
service
90.
role. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I want to see those stories from within the company.
And if you listen to the Warriors speech, it seems like, we can't ask him obviously, but it seems like that was what he was implying that he'd like to happen.
Yep.
And they kind of changed the meeting, which it's their company, right? They can do what they want, but.
So like any opportunity they see for some kind of mainstream spotlight or coverage, they'll take it.
Absolutely,
they'll take it.
I don't hate the Warrior Award. I really don't. If you're gonna have Kid Rock in the Hall of Fame, give me something. Give me something.
Well, I think the issue though is, do you mind calling it? Like I love the idea behind it, but the fact that it's named after the Ultimate Warrior, who wasn't the most open guy in debates and speeches, and it seemed like he had a lot of hate coming out. But then again, it sounds perfect. The Warrior Award just sounds right. It looks cool with the little face paint and the I don't know. It's a lot of fact and fiction.
Do we think Jeff Jarrett comes out to Be My Baby tonight?
I do. I think he sings it there.
You think he does?
I hope so. I hope he comes out with the JJ hat with the lights on it.
JEFF.
I will say,
the greatest entertainer.
Listen, I was a huge Jeff Jarrett fan as a kid because of the initials. I was not the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan as I got older in life. I was very surprised to see that he was being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And I'm still surprised to hear that he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Do we know who's inducted him?
Road Dogg.
The Road Dogg, yeah.
So is he going to lip sync the...
Maybe tonight he might.
They're going to have to discuss it.
He might.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how much a part of that was that Bruce Pritchard show? Like they shone such a positive light on Jarrett the last 2 years. Right, so
well, here's the thing. To me, it's like Road Dogg should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame before Jeff Jarrett.
No, I think with this one because
I
think
overall wrestling,
sure.
But when you put
that's
it,
what they factor in
New Age Outlaws,
when you encompass what Jeff Jarrett did to Vince McMahon and the Vince McMahon firing him live on television to see where
Ultimate
they are
Warrior
now inducting him, it's come on,
but
this is
Ultimate
crazy.
Warrior did the same thing.
Yeah, but Ultimate Warrior didn't start a competing company.
Ultimate Warrior held up SummerSlam.
He didn't start a
He
competing
also drew
company.
a lot more money for that company than Jarrett. I think the Road Dogg, though, in terms of like he was a critical piece of the Outlaws and DX.
Even his work backstage
Yeah.
is worthy of him
at
being in
least
there before
SmackDown
Jeff
stuff.
Jarrett. I just feel like if I was a WWE guy who's been in WWE for so long and came back to do work later on once I retired and see Jeff Jarrett made it into the Hall of Fame before me, I'd feel kind of disrespected.
Ken Shamrock should feel very
Ken Shamrock should be tight.
There's tons of people should be. There's a lot of people who should be in before Jeff Jarrett, in my opinion. Is he a deserving Hall of Famer? In the wrestling world, absolutely. But I think in the WWE Hall of Fame, some people should have got him before.
So much of it's political. Dynamite Kid, you can't argue. I mean, so many guys. And unfortunately, one of them was it's so complicated with Chris Benoit. And it's tough you can't. So obviously, there's one thing you can't bring up, right? So it's tough. And Dynamite's not. I don't think the most positive guy right now from stories we hear. So it's tough. It's so political too.
Yeah. How do we? I mean, we mentioned Dynamite Kid too, like, and Of course, you had the British Bulldog. Who would you guys feel is the biggest snub to date?
That's so hard.
I already answered it.
WWE Hall of Fame?
China.
China.
I think China. I mean,
You missed the boat when she was alive. People were still pushing and hoping for
especially
it.
when you put.
And now?
Yeah, China.
You gotta go.
She's definitely deserving. I'd say Davey Boy Smith.
Right.
I think the Bulldog is.
Right. That was
Right
he was gonna
now-
be my other person. And until they put Ravishing Rick Rude in a couple years ago, to me he was one of the biggest snubs.
See, I feel Owen.
And maybe they're saving him because they know they don't have a lot of things to like.
Well, the story there, Martha
Headline.
Hart has come out and said that publicly she wants no part of it.
Okay.
She wouldn't be associated.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some
But
things
what
you gotta
about when
work
his
through.
kids
Yeah.
are old enough?
You wonder. Yeah. And if they want to induct the Hart, now I think, when I talk to Bret, we don't talk about his sister-in-law, but I think that they had Bret, if I remember the story right, Bret was very defensive of Martha, Owens' widow, and maybe she wasn't to him in the end. I'd have to double check that, but I think that's a complicated story. I think that, and that's hard too. If you want to induct the Hart Foundation, which you should, you need Owen Hart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're waiting for a WrestleMania in Canada.
I don't see one.
I'm going back to Hogan again. That's when I would bring Hulk back. Canadians love. He's always
Right. He's always gonna be big there.
Yeah, it's 6 and 18, the two of the biggest moments ever in WrestleMania history.
Yeah,
Where
they're backwards up there.
I love Canada for those listening, but
So coming up,
True North.
good save.
We have some listeners in South Africa, apparently.
we do.
amazing.
So shout out to South
South
Africa,
Africa.
UK as well.
How do we
So,
feel about
everyone.
Ivory?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
You
what it
need to
is.
induct.
Yeah.
The format tells us that they induct a female every year, and she's deserving.
But it's funny though that you can put her in before China. It's like whoa, you can't
Right.
even. And that's not a knock on Ivory. That's a call to the China. You can't compare those two.
But I think when Ivory's induction first came out, we had this discussion, and I mentioned the fact that she did women's wrestling way back in the 80s.
Glow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
she has accolades that makes her a deserving person. But to see her in before China, you guys are right. I mean, China's one of the biggest names in WWE history,
I wonder
especially for the female
exactly-
revolution
right.
era.
I don't know if you've heard anything. Like, I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't
China?
know what they're working through. Right.
Oh, I don't think she's going to go in
I don't know.
this decade. I don't think. I mean,
Seriously?
I don't think so.
Not only that, who inducts China?
There's-
Triple H can't do it. Can't have X-Pac do it. Who inducts China?
And
Shawn Michaels?
I don't mean this in a cruel way, but like she had a cool
Billy Gunn?
Eddie Guerrero
Jericho.
would have made a lot of
Right.
sense. Eddie can't do it. Eddie's no longer with
Jericho.
us. Jericho could.
Jericho
Mick
could do it.
Foley actually probably would be the guy.
Yeah.
Foley
That's
is
right.
Jeff Jarrett.
Foley is a huge supporter of Vince Russo could too, but Vince Russo's not on great terms with that company. So.
Well, no.
Everybody who can induct her is not on great terms.
Foley could. Foley's the guy.
Foley
Foley.
seems like the possibility.
And like I said, Jeff
I don't think
Jarrett,
she goes
Jeff
in.
Jarrett could
I don't think she ever goes in.
Jericho.
You don't think she ever goes in, ever?
Who?
China.
Ever? No, he said this decade.
I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if she. I wouldn't be surprised if she never goes in the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And really, does it matter?
That's
I don't know.
sad.
I hate to say this. Does it matter? If there was a building with a Hall of
Right.
Fame, then I might say, oh, you know what? She deserves her place.
Right.
But I don't know. Jarrett actually would be kind of funny because of the Intercontinental title match. But I don't know.
They are running out of females to induct. I mean, you're down to Ivory. You got your Molly Hollies.
I think that's when they expand to ECW and they'll reach out to like someone like a Francine.
Maybe that's what the this was the tryouts this year was the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
All the women they brought back. Who do we
Yeah.
want for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Molly Holly will definitely go in.
Molly
Oh,
Hollies
definitely.
definitely
Yeah.
going in.
I mean, a lot of people.
She's
forget
inducting
she was
Ivory,
with
right?
Macho Man.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said she lives in Everett.
No, she's inducting the Macho
Ivory.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Lives in Everett.
Selective hearing.
I was just like blew my.
All our listeners like, what the hell is Everett?
Every
Massachusetts. I was
Massachusetts.
like, wow. Oh wow.
Who do we have left? Dudley's?
Oh yeah. Well, you can't just jump into them. Come on, man. The Dudleys are
Were you
iconic
main
like
eventing
that.
them?
We
They
don't
were the
even need to
headline.
highlight. We know they are definite Hall of Famers. If there's anyone questioning that they're a Hall of Famer, then you're
No, you definitely don't question
been
it. But what
blind
you
to
question
wrestling
is
for the past 20 years.
You question that. You're going
what
to do
we're
a
saying,
table.
how they make it before other teams who.
I
seem a
mean,
little bit more deserving.
honestly, like my opinion, I'm not mad that they're in over demolition.
No, I don't think I am either.
Who would be another tag team that we're?
The Hart Foundation,
Heart Foundation should be in.
the
But
British
I see,
Bulldogs,
here's my
the
thing.
Rockers.
No to the Rockers. Here's my thing. If I do the Hart Foundation, I'm doing the whole foundation and not the tag team.
You could do the tag team, though.
Yeah, you could. But I think it's more impactful with
Sure, Pillman.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Hart Foundation, yes,
Davey Boy.
they won a couple tag team championships. They were heels and then it became faces. But their face run wasn't as long because Bret went on.
But I
to
do
the
think
single star.
a lot the Hart Foundation, the individual pieces of the Hart Foundation did enough on their own to be Hall of Fame inductees on their own.
Oh yeah,
So-
most
So
definitely.
I would love to see them not blanket it all.
Probably
and-
would be easier for them just to blanket it all together. You could have Pillman's son speak. You could have Neidhart speak. You could have Davey Boy Jr. speak. You could have Brett speak. It would be kind of cool, though, if they did it on their
Separate
own.
them
Separate,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, I just if I hear Hart Foundation, like I know the tag team, but I'm more.
I honestly think of the
inclined to have
tag team.
group.
I think of the tag team. They had the longer run. They were the first. They were the initial. If you really think about Brett's run with the entire Hart Foundation group, it's like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, but it's the most impactful. That's what started the screw job. Yeah, I mean that started everything.
You can make a case for both. They're both,
Yeah,
yeah, some of the best heel. So it's funny, Bret Hart, arguably the shortest part of his career was, actually not arguably, it was, as that heel. He was a babyface across the world, a heel in the United States. I mean, America, talking about healthcare in the United States and just cutting edge stuff for that point in time.
and he was in a wheelchair.
1997.
He got super kicked in the wheelchair, bro.
And they even had racial stuff then too. If you remember, there was a
Yes,
Raw
with the
when
Nation.
the DX framed them and it made them look like they were bigots.
Yep.
Like they had so many interesting. I mean, I'm a big Bret fan, but I wouldn't mind either way with the Hart Foundation.
I mean, what would you say the Hart Foundation's biggest tag team rivalry was?
Demolition.
Demolition for sure. The Bulldogs started with the Bulldogs, ended with Demolition.
You got to remember, the Hart Foundation's the first 3-time tag team champions in WWE history.
True.
Jimmy Hart.
And they did it
run
right
with
though
them.
too.
It's
Right,
like-
you start as a heel, you get popular enough where you can turn babyface and make some money.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it to a T.
Yep, the formula started with them.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, to my
But
point,
back to
I'm
the
not-
Dudleys, though.
I'm not mad that the Dudleys.
No, Dudley's are
over
deserving Hall of Famers.
over anyone.
Who's inducting them?
Edge and Christian.
Edge and Christian, and I think they might have I think Matt might.
They should have had Paul Heyman do that.
Right?
They should have had Paul
Well-
Heyman do that.
Well,
But now you focus
It
on the
was
WWE
requested.
career instead of the ECW career.
yeah.
So
But it was requested by the Dudleys. Bubba, more specifically.
randomly, allegedly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Luis, it's interesting too. And now they let them go, right? Excuse me. They let Mark LaMonaco, they let Bubba Ray. They came to mutual agreement that he was going to leave the company, which they didn't want to go with the Bully Ray gimmick, which you can argue about. But it's interesting that here's
Yeah.
a guy who works for Ring of Honor, and he's getting inducted into your Hall of Fame, and there's no issue with that. So it's just funny how politics come into play. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But it's just funny that here's a guy who's basically the commissioner type figure in Ring of Honor, and Bubba's great. They don't seem to care that he's with another promotion. So it's interesting how sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. It's funny we spend all this time thinking about the Hall of Fame when,
And on the show, he speaks so openly about the product,
yeah,
and there's no repercussions from that. And I feel like with some others, there are.
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
A guy gets buried for it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the format, and maybe you have some insight here. When you go in as a tag team, are you still individually a WWE Hall of Famer?
Well, you get the ring.
Right?
Yeah, like the Rock and Roll. Like
Right.
Ricky Morton's a WWE Hall of Famer.
Like is
yes.
Bubba Ray a WWE Hall of Famer?
He
Like,
will
when
be.
This is all
Yeah.
said and done. Right. Okay. So no one can be like, well, as a tag team.
No, because like
Once
the Rock,
you're in,
the Rock
you're
and Roll
in.
Express has the
Right.
the Freebirds. Michael Hayes has his Hall of Fame ring, and yeah.
Right. There we go. All right.
I almost wish there was an outside committee that did it. I don't know. It comes down to one man's decision.
That's right. Who is the committee?
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. Everyone just sliding him a sheet. It's like a little ballot box.
You know who the committee is? Whatever the venue they're in. Yeah, we need to fill these seats. So,
I'm sure.
Who's going to be
Sure.
best to do
A
it?
lot of
Right.
that goes into it. All right.
And of course, last but not least, the man himself, Goldberg.
We talked about Goldberg.
Yeah, but we wanted to harp on who we felt outside of Hogan, potentially, which spurned that whole different topic, should have inducted Goldberg into the Hall of Fame. Excuse me, induct.
Also, is he a Hall of Famer? He had such a short run. I think he
Impactful.
is. Yeah. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, both 09 interviews, said absolutely not. So I don't know what changed between now and then.
I think that was more competition. He probably rubbed him the wrong way his first go-round. So, I see that. But yeah, he's definitely a Hall of Famer, like without question. Like
When you look at who's in, what's the criteria, right? I mean,
yeah,
but did he draw money? Yep, that should be the biggest one. He did, and
of course.
I agree.
And you know what I mean, and to the point where if you have you know what I mean, your rival company mocking you, you know you're ruffling some feathers. You know, when they brought in Gilbert, you know what I mean, and WWE at that time was doing any and everything to get some notice. Goldberg, they built him up so classically. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean, they've outside of him winning the title on TNT instead of a pay-per-view, it could go either way. He, to this day, when he came back, people cheered like it brought back their childhood. There's not a lot of people that you could say do that for you. And I think that's what's the most important part when you look at Bill Goldberg and going into the Hall of Fame. What was his impact? You know what I mean? Is he able to bring you that moment from when you was a child and you got goosebumps? Like, wow, he's inhaling the smoke and it's coming out of his nose, the pyro. You know what I mean? Do you have that nostalgia feeling? Does it bring you back to 96, 97, 98? You know what I mean? And I think he was able to capture that.
I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I feel like it ruined Brock. Like, it took away his invincibility, and it's supposed to be built for Roman. And yeah, I know it wasn't like when Roman beats Brock at Mania, he's going to flat out beat him. There'll be no question. When Goldberg beat him, it was an upset. It was a fluke. He couldn't get over this fluky, defeat. He knocked him out of the Rumble. He speared him. He got him. And he wasn't prepared. So I get the storyline, but I think it took away Brock's invincibility. And I also, I love Kevin Owens. I thought what a terrible idea it was to have Goldberg
Oh, that was awful.
destroy him.
That was so
Fast
bad.
Lane. Oh.
Yeah, Fastlane.
And
yeah.
he's
I
had to
just
recover
rewatched
from that too.
Yeah.
And he's been
hasn't really.
I don't think he has
That was
either.
not a good look.
Now, granted, they've had a 7-month storyline here that's kind of gone nowhere
Yeah.
because you didn't know the Bryan thing. But yeah, terrible decision.
That was so bad.
It
I
was
felt
fun to
so
see
bad for the
Goldberg
whole
back,
thing.
but
My thing with Brock though, wasn't that at a point of time where people were tired of Brock's act, like being invincible?
I guess the point is if you're gonna give somebody the rub,
It shouldn't have been somebody who's gonna have a one time.
But they love the shock value.
and it
Should've
was
went to
shocking.
Samoa
was.
Joe.
you know, I just think.
Should have went to Samoa
Guaranteed.
Joe.
I know all of us were on our feet when it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I was shocked, yeah.
Yeah.
But could they have done it with somebody else? I wonder. I don't know.
But who could have done that?
Roman Reigns.
that'd be hell to
Samoa,
pay
I
for
think-
Roman Reigns.
I think it's not as fast, but I think, like as I just said, if you have Samoa Joe choke out Brock Lesnar, people's mouths will drop.
That would've
Here's
been
the reason
something,
why
yeah.
you have Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, somebody like that go over Brock is because what we're saying. WWE is running out of people to induct in this Hall of Fame and headline in the Hall of Fame because they are lacking making new superstars. When you keep going back to Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, guys like that, Undertaker, John Cena, you don't give new people an opportunity to become megastars.
And I'm fine with Goldberg or Brock keeping the title, running through opponents, and then losing at SummerSlam this past year to Braun. I thought that was a great time to crown Braun. But they wanted to stay with They already did the Goldberg thing. They wanted to stay with Lesnar.
Yeah.
Braun, man.
His time will come. His time will come.
Eventually.
Braun, like
You hate to miss it, though.
it was the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the Kofi moment.
The Kofi moment.
Braun should have been champion last summer.
That was the Kofi moment. Now, moving forward, NXT TakeOver. Like, how do you guys feel about it? I know we touched on it earlier. It's like it feels like they lack star power.
You know what? There's no big buzz. It feels like they lack star power, but I know those matches in ring will be absolutely entertaining. I have no qualms about those matches being absolutely
What are you guys looking at as probably the match of the night on that card?
Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega. that night, to me, that's the match. Saturday night, that is the match.
That night.
For NXT TakeOver.
Yeah. I think Aleister Black and Almas, honestly, as far as in-ring work, I think that might be the show stealer.
You know?
I'm hesitant to say this because I'm going to knock it come Mania, but with the multi-mans, I think the multi-man's going to steal the show.
Yes.
I'm always worried with multi-man matches, though,
Velveteen,
because
does Velveteen get his dream?
I think EC3 wins that title.
Yeah, I think they go EC3 as
I
well.
think EC3
I'd like
was
to see
that
Ricochet win, but
Really?
but they have one multi-man match. not 7 of them.
That's true.
It's insane that like Mania is a multi-man card.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
sure.
infuriating.
Trying to stuff everyone into on.
That's
on,
not the.
on
It's going to be a 7-hour show. There's nothing I want to do for 7 hours, and I love watching pro wrestling. There's anything in the world I want to do for 7. Sleep maybe,
Yeah.
but
It's going to be a long night.
It will be. It will be.
For the live
it's a ladder
Unsanctioned
match.
episode.
But I'll be tuned in. 7 hours.
We'll be tuned in. We may be live.
You know my matches, and I seen it coming a mile away. I want to say Gargano.
Ciampa.
Yo, that's oh my gosh.
That's
How
gonna
did
be
I
good.
not say that?
Tommaso
How did
Ciampa
I
from
say-
Everett, Mass. So
Tommaso
that
Ciampa,
made it
who
fun.
I went to
Mass,
Connection
right.
Everett.
Tommaso
Good
Ciampa,
connection. Good
yeah.
connection there,
Nice.
JB.
Tommaso Ciampa, I went to high school with. So I am definitely cheering for him in this match, and that is the match of the night. Actually, I'm sorry.
have had a worse
Tommaso,
time.
Tommaso, I'm sorry about that. And did you see
That
what they've been
injury.
doing on the internet with their promos and Gargano going to Ciampa's house? The stuff they're doing off of
Yeah.
TV,
It's very Stone Cold
Brilliant.
Pillman-esque.
brilliant,
Minus the gun
brilliant,
and the kiddie pool.
brilliant, brilliant. So. I'm. That's the match of the night.
That's
oh my
what I'm
god!
watching.
How did I not think of that?
They can very easily steal the night.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, though, that injury really derailed that whole program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're playing catch up now.
You lost.
Are,
You
are
lost
they
the
making
momentum.
up for it or no?
I think so, as best you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
His heat is crazy.
yeah.
Can that feud go to 205 Live and be successful?
Not a knock on 205 Live. I start every sentence. Not a knock on 205 Live, but I feel like you'd pull the air out of it right away.
Yeah.
It would just be deflated.
Yeah.
putting it
Right.
there, which is a shame because the guys there are so good.
Yeah.
So
Right.
what do you do?
If you move 205 Live to a different night, put it in a smaller arena, NXT type, can it be successful?
I like that. And to me, and maybe it's just my biased opinion, if I think cruisers, it's missing, and I'm going to go to the Crash show in New Orleans next week, you need luchas.
Yeah.
Not like 1 or 2. Like if I want cruiser style, I want lucha libre. Lucha libre style wrestling. I want mass stars. Promos or not, like give me guys that they're special, they're unique, they're different. WCW captured a worldwide cruiserweight division better than WWE's done the past couple of years. But I desperately want more luchas, and I think that would help.
And you know who you need? Need Enzo.
No, stop
Get
it.
the
Don't
hell
even-
out here. Moving on to the next match on the NXT card.
What's on? Ready to
Who's
talk
next?
Mania? We talking Mania?
Gotta give Enzo a shout out. Hopefully,
So WrestleMania.
his legal issues are
Hey,
clearing
Rich
up.
Swann is on the. Speaking of, I believe that's the Crash. Is that Rev Pro or the Crash? Rich Swann is on the one of the cards at Mania weekend.
He said he's retiring too, right? After the end of that match.
I don't know if he was being tongue in cheek or. I'm very curious to see what happens. I think Rich Swann's very talented. Enzo too. Enzo's actually to Enzo's credit. One thing you can say positively, he's kept a low profile.
Yeah.
The past couple of months.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's even touched his Twitter.
No.
Yeah, it's been.
Can't be easy.
Yeah.
Our president can't stop tweeting.
He's,
so.
he's talking to somebody. He's
Yeah.
talking to somebody.
Do we think Shayna Baszler goes over?
I do.
You do.
I'll vote for that too.
Because they want Ronda Rousey to have her stable.
I think that's a slow build to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, she probably doesn't.
Yeah.
She's good though. So
Ember Moon goes on to the main roster that next Raw, the next SmackDown. Do
I
you
hope
think?
so. You need more women for sure. Yeah.
I
She
agree.
definitely needs to go on SmackDown.
I agree.
SD
Like
Live.
Smack,
yeah.
I just feel well. No, actually, I take the bad because they
She and
do have
Becky
options.
Lynch are
Oscar
nice
went
open
over
feud.
there now, so I think now you can move Ember to Raw.
Yeah, I think Raw is becoming a little.
Well, what happens if we have the draft? But I almost wish she wasn't a draft. I hope she just shows up and makes
Yeah,
an impact,
yes,
you know,
comes
and
in.
takes out. She and Becky Lynch, I think, would work well together.
Yeah.
Gotta get Zelina Vegas in the ring, aka the Trinidad. How do we feel about the NXT Championship match?
It doesn't have the star power that we are used to on Takeover weekend, especially for the Mania show. But both those guys are great workers. I love Aleister Black. You guys know I'm a big fan of him. So
Do we feel that like the air was sucked out of Aleister because I felt there was so much behind him, especially after the Velveteen Dream match.
no, I just what I think WWE realizes. They realize this guy's great in the ring, but when we bring him to the main roster, he definitely is going to be nothing. Just because that's just the way the WWE machine's going to spit him out. He just doesn't have...
He looks different than a WWE star.
yeah.
He works differently.
Yeah.
He speaks differently.
Yeah.
I think he's great. I wonder, he'll be a very interesting case. How do they treat that guy?
Yeah.
Because to me, the first 2 months are easy, right? Even look at Dillinger. First 2 months, you're a star. Even the Hardys when they came back. The Hardys came back there for 2 months. They were the Hardys.
Super hot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after 2 months, Vince kind of gets tired of your act. You're putting teams over. So to me, it's that like Bryan in 2 months. Where's he going to be? Curious about him too.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about the Dusty Rhodes Classic? Anyone staying up to date on it? No? Nah?
It's all right.
Guess not. Moving on.
When you don't put a
snoozer.
When you don't put enough of an emphasis on tag team wrestling, I don't think you can just throw a name on it, even the one of a legend, and say you should care.
Who's in the finals?
Well, you have Authors of Pain versus Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. But I think they're trying to add the NXT Championship match into the titles into that match. So it's kind of weird with that dynamic. For some reason, I thought Bobby Fish was going to be out for longer.
Yeah.
Guess not. But it's going to be a Undisputed Era versus Authors of Pain versus Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong.
I thought Adam Cole was just going to work 2 matches that night.
No. Adam Cole is in.
He's in the
NXT
he's in the ladder
North
match.
America. Yeah,
right.
But he's not in that tag match.
Wow.
Yeah, the Fish report was he was going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
6 to 8 months, I thought.
But he's, I guess he's listed as going to perform, but TBD, either way. But
And
yeah,
you could do something where you knock him out of that match early.
Yeah.
I'd go back to the Rockers. There was that SummerSlam match where Jannetty worked the match because Michaels was hurt and Hercules Hernandez knocked him out early. There's ways you can get around it.
I don't knock that Adam Cole working 2 matches thing. He was in the Rumble. I think they're ready to do something big with him.
I think
Cocky
he was
heel champion, got
he,
2 belts. I won 2 matches at Mania.
I think he wins the NXT.
love it. Yeah.
I think he wins the NXT North American Championship. You talk about star power.
Yeah,
He is that guy.
I agree.
He is that guy that has that star power. Moving on to the main card, WrestleMania.
The show it shows.
You know what I mean?
Last but not least.
The show it shows.
We have the Women's Battle Royal, formerly known as the Fabulous Moolah one.
That didn't go over well.
Yeah, they
Definitely
changed
did
it,
not.
right?
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
But did you see the trophy?
They put the kibosh on that.
Very odd shaped trophy.
Yeah.
What are they gonna rename it something different?
It's just a
Women's
Battle
WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal.
Throw Mae Young's name on there. I know you had the Mae Young Classic. Just slap her name on there again. Mark Henry's going into the Hall of Fame. It's like perfect. Throw Mae Young back out there.
So yeah, any predictions on who we feel wins that match? Women's Battle Royal.
I was disappointed that Banks and Bayley are in that match because I thought they'd have a nice singles match.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a 7-hour card.
You definitely should have threw him on.
Absolutely. I'd like to see Becky Lynch win. I'd like to see her carry the torch of that Battle Royal because to me, you need a babyface for that particular match. I'd love to see Becky Lynch. Give her a purpose. She hasn't had one. She hasn't had a direction on SmackDown. She hasn't had a direction in that company in months. I'd love to see Lynch win that match.
But will it be the Mojo Rawley effect?
Yeah.
Just to win. Just to win.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't.
I think Nikki Bella's a dark horse for that match too.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know why. I'm just sick of the Bellas. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, like Royal Rumble.
Well,
Well, you're gonna get a lot of Brie this WrestleMania. I'll tell you that
Brie's
much.
a dark horse too because I think a big reason why Bryan's back is to work with his wife. She wants to work again.
Yeah.
He wants to be with his wife.
Yeah.
That's a big storyline, a big reason of why Bryan's back. Big part of the story.
I thought the winner of this match was going to be Carmella. But she has that Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't see her cashing in on any of those women at Mania, though. Any of those 2 championship matches at Mania. So I'm going to stick with Carmella.
Okay. See, I think Sasha gets it, and I think it comes down to her and Bayley, and they probably have.
Then
6
we get our
minutes
little
by their
match.
own.
Yeah.
They have 6
I'd
minutes
like
on their
that.
own.
Okay, that'd be cool.
I really
see
hope
them-
that happens.
Yeah,
That'd
that'd
be
be
cool.
eliminating themselves
That'd be cool.
early.
Right, since
But
that's what we're working with.
That'd be cool.
So,
Speaking of women's, excuse me. For those, I'm doing pretty well. I think it's. I feel like I'm getting old. It's 1:15, so I'm doing all right here. I cough. But I think it's so interesting that if you have Charlotte Flair
Yep.
and her match with Asuka, you're going to need to. They're going to tear the house down. That'll be the best women's match on the card. So I really think it's going to be interesting. How do you treat Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss? You've got to have that match be super quick. And there's such a size differential where Bliss is tiny as it is. She made Sasha Banks look big tonight.
Yes, she did.
She did. And so you need to have Jax squash her as fast as possible. That can't be a match to me.
I don't think they allow the squash. I think like it's something where Alexa works on Nia's leg and stuff like that. But I think eventually Nia goes over.
If they have a match, I think they'll be exposed, and B, they'll be even more exposed because Charlotte, and that is one of the top 3 matches on the card.
Absolutely,
I think.
Charlotte, Asuka. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you probably start Mania with that.
Nia,
Go
Jax,
early.
Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, go either way. Go early with that.
That might be on the
Yeah.
pre-show. To be honest,
I think you
Sure.
start early with that. All right, so moving forward to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Who's who? Anyone?
I have no guesses.
Baron
on this.
Corbin, 2-time winner of that.
I mean, do we get Mojo again and Ty Gronk can do it
You know who I'm gonna say?
for some kind of?
Someone who's not in the company right now today. Just some. I don't know who, but somebody who's not
Someone
currently
coming
on the
back?
roster.
I'll say Elias.
I hope. That'd be
Is
cool.
he in the battle royal? He's not gonna do the thing with Braun.
We shall see. Moving forward, so then we have, of course, Daniel Bryan.
That's a pre-show match, though, for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Now you have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. My prediction here, Zayn and Owens, of course, go over because there's no way they're going to be fired from WWE.
Yeah.
I think they go over. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
Well, how about the health of Shane?
Amazing, this guy. Oh, talk about superhuman. He can be in the hospital 1 week from diverticulitis, and just 2 weeks later, he can be back at WrestleMania. I can't. I mean, I think we need to see Shane first. I know the picture on Twitter, but come on, that's a hard story. Friends I know that have had diverticulitis, they've lost weight, 25 pounds.
man.
They've you shouldn't be physically active. I don't know what to think of that story. I think we need to see Shane before we know.
That's what Lesnar had, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
remove part of his colon.
Jeez.
Took some time away from the ring.
This guy fell out of a plane. Wasn't a match a couple weeks
Helicopter
later.
crashes.
So
He is
I don't
modern
know.
day Ric Flair.
I don't know, man.
It is funny though. The match totally. The McMahons do so many things well. I mean, there's no film in the world like the McMahons. They don't take a back seat well, and you have Bryan. All eyes on Bryan in that match. A week later, Shane was in the hospital. By the way, he's gonna come back. I don't know. I find that story so odd. We'll see, but you have to start that match with Shane. And then you have to build to the tag with Bryan. That place erupts when Daniel Bryan gets tagged in the match. So, I think that Bryan and Shane win that match, and then we'll
think
see.
so?
The shakeup will ensue, and Owens and Zayn go someplace else.
I
I
think
thought they were fired from all of WWE. Wasn't that the stipulation?
I thought it was SmackDown.
No, I think it's SmackDown.
it wasn't all of WWE.
You know what
No.
though? Shame on us for asking about WWE stipulations.
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah,
you
no,
know
right.
that never stays.
It's
right.
too
They
late.
should.
Nah.
I honestly think that I agree with you. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens win that match, and I think Daniel Bryan turns heel in that match.
Oh,
To stop the
Okay.
yes
Or
movement.
doesn't turn heel. He helps Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in that match.
Yep.
That would further the storyline.
Yeah.
All right. Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
Ronda Rousey. I might even mention
Just
Kurt
Ronda
Angle.
Rousey.
Ronda Rousey's getting the pin. Ronda Rousey's winning that match.
Do we get? Hold on, I guess this is a serious question. Do we get Kurt Angle who's in shape
Yeah,
and ready for a match?
I think so.
sure.
I think the last time,
He's had
the
all
two
this time to
times we've
prepare.
seen him, it was kind of like,
It was rushed.
The tough part about Survivor Series though was the company. There were too many guys in that match, and I love watching Triple H wrestle. There were 10 guys in that match. You had Bobby Roode in that match. So that's if I'm Kurt, that's bad for me. You had Balor in that match. If I'm Triple H, that's bad for me. You had Braun in that match. Cena looked old in that match, and Cena never looks old in his matches. There were just too many young. And they're not even that young, but there were too many studs in that match that it really, I thought, accentuated the fact that Angle, Cena, and Triple H were older. That won't happen now when it's just the two of them, Steph and Rousey. I'm excited to see what I think that Angle and Triple H will have a few fun moments for us. But that match absolutely is. It's the Ronda Rousey show.
Should we be
Angle brings
concerned?
out the milk.
What's that?
Hope he brings out the milk. It's a milk salute.
like I don't know. I'm just worried because the last couple times I've seen Kurt Angle in the ring, like even the ankle lock looked like it hurt him to put it on.
I don't
somebody.
think he was expecting to be in those matches. He wasn't prepared to
Right.
be in those
It was
matches.
rushed.
Those things were just thrown
I think
upon him.
he's known Mania
Roman
for quite
originally
some
got
time.
sick and all that. Should we be at all concerned about Ronda Rousey's ring work? I think based on
gonna
some
suck.
spots that we've seen,
It's gonna suck.
hasn't
think-
looked the safest or the
She can-
smoothest.
But the problem is the opponent. Stephanie McMahon, why should Rousey like the promo I thought was good on Raw, but this past Monday, but why is Ronda scared of Stephanie? Like Stephanie should be scared.
Yeah.
Right? It's Ronda Rousey. Why would she have? So that worries me, and it's not like it's Sasha somebody in the ring, Charlotte Flair's in the ring, and going to make her look like $1 million. I think a Charlotte Rousey match would be good because Charlotte would make her look like $1 million.
Yeah.
Can Stephanie McMahon do that? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Though Stephanie and Brie Bella wasn't a bad match at SummerSlam a few years ago. I don't know. We'll see, but I think they're going to need to be protected as often as possible by
I think
Angle.
Triple H will be poking at their matchup when they're
And then Angle as well.
Yeah.
You're going to have to. There'll be enough sleight of hand in that match that
Right.
yeah, it works.
So predictions, Luis?
yeah, Ronda and Kurt, or as Julio says, Ronda Rousey.
And there's going to need to be a moment where, like a Sports Center moment, where Rousey. I know they already did the table thing with her and Triple H,
Yeah.
but what can she do that gets a Sports Center highlight?
Yeah.
They're going to need something in that match.
Something where she tosses Triple H.
It's just something.
like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
She's
wanna
definitely
say
gonna put her hands on
450.
him again.
Have
Yeah.
her do a shooting star. Like
No,
Lesnar.
I don't want to see Ronda Rousey break her neck on live television on WrestleMania.
But there'll be a moment where it's like that's going to be on Sports
Like
Center.
the
That's-
moment. You'll know when
Yeah.
you see
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
There it is.
Absolutely.
Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali.
Oh, Cedric.
Cedric Alexander does not win this match. I swear to God, he should get up and spit in Vince McMahon's face, Bret Hart style, and then walk out the company.
Is that I think that's a
He should have
hot
had the
take.
title like 4 months ago.
That's exactly why
He
I
should have had
give
the
my
title
guarantee.
4 months ago.
Please drop him to him.
Please.
Alexander wins 100%.
Yeah.
I don't see that any other way.
Oh my gosh.
He's
Do you
worked
think
his
it's a
ass off in these storylines and these programs.
Do you think it's a
time.
swerve that they threw Mustafa Ali in the finals over?
No,
Drew
I think
Gulak?
it's the
No.
new. I think they wanted a really, really good, fast-paced WrestleMania match to kind of highlight the cruiserweight, so people, because all eyes are going to be on WrestleMania.
And they're priming
There's
someone new to elevate.
Right. It's an opportunity for people to be like, maybe the cruiserweights aren't so bad. I'll check out 205 Live.
Because last year we had that Neville versus Austin Aries.
Austin Aries,
right.
And that
Right.
was a pre-show
Pre-show.
match.
Right.
Neither of them were really happy about that,
Right.
but it was kind of a match that
And that was one of
stood
the
out
better
that
matches
night.
on the card.
Exactly. And so I think they're trying to maybe replicate that success or make it even better, overshadow it.
Yep.
How much a factor was, you mentioned Gulak not being in the finals, how much a factor was diversity? This is a chance for them to highlight two guys that are of diverse backgrounds. I don't know. I in terms of a winner, I'll be shocked.
They are going to Saudi Arabia. I know Mustafa Ali is not from Saudi Arabia, but
Right.
Just didn't
right.
play on the name.
If
Play
you're a
on the
kid,
name,
you
the
know, he looks
connection.
like me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. That's someone I can mess
Yeah.
with.
They're going to have to change the title of that show, right? At least one.
A title. It's got
At
to go
least one. They
down.
have 7 title matches.
Well, I mean,
right?
I think
Saudi
we all
Arabia.
know what title's definitely changing.
yes.
I don't mean Mania, I mean Saudi Arabia.
Saudi
Oh,
Arabia.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you
I
got to
don't think a title drops there.
You don't think so?
I don't think
No,
we'll change
it's
it. I
got
think
to.
with the
I think one.
Rumble,
Like the AJ
I think
thing
the Rumble
in the
itself.
UK.
Right.
Yeah.
The great U.S. title, something,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think with the Rumble.
How do they find
that's-
50 guys? And how do you explain the women thing? They're not coming.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tough one.
They'll probably
Tough
bring
one.
some guys from NXT, is my guess.
And maybe there's guys in the area.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
co-branded too.
Some local
so.
guys.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Good
If
little
that's a
rub for them.
possibility.
Yeah.
All right, the tag team match, man. SmackDown championships. The Usos versus the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. I almost wanted to say Wyatt family for a second. What do you think about the Bludgeon Brothers? Do you think they go over? Do you think the Usos finally have their moment in their very first legit on the? Well, I don't want to jinx them. I'll wait for the match to actually happen before it's pre-show or whatever. But do you think the Usos go over, or do you think the Bludgeon Brothers actually bludgeon their way to a title?
If you follow the storyline, the story arc, it should be the Bludgeon Brothers winning this title. But again, what a missed opportunity. This is one of my least favorite matches in the card. This is a tag team title match. It should be between two tag teams and arguably the best two in the world. I love the Young Bucks, but you could make a pretty strong case that the Usos and New Day are the best two tag teams in the world. Maybe they weren't feud of the year in 2017 because Roman and Braun were a little bit better. And wrestling's a single star business. But man, what a missed opportunity. You could put your best two tag teams, and you could have Woods outside the ring. 'Cause I think the best New Day team is Big E and Kofi. I just feel like again why are we you're watering down a really great match into an okay one. It'll still be good. But man, what a missed opportunity!
I would have loved to see even a cross promotional thing where they did the Bar versus the Usos, and you say who the best champions on the entire.
I like
I
that.
know they did it in
Yeah,
Survivor Series.
but you could do it again.
You
yeah.
could do it again.
But you're missing out on the opportunity to have Usos New Day Give them 25 minutes. What a great match.
You
Why-
know they'll kill it because we've
Yeah.
seen that. So reward them.
And they're so,
Their
and the
program
Usos
has
are
gone
so
for so
hungry.
long.
Not that the New Day's not, but the New Day's, even the New Day needs a cool Mania moment. They hosted Mania. They had that kind of lousy 6-man tag. They lost to the League of Nations. That Austin and Michaels and Foley came at the end of that.
That's right.
That would have been that could have been match of the night. Yeah. It had, but with the two extra, with the extra team, it's such a missed opportunity.
And that's no disrespect to the Bludgeon. Actually,
No.
it is kind of disrespect to the Bludgeon Brothers because Luke Harper is a great wrestler. Eric Rowan is not so much the greatest worker. So you never know. Luke Harper could put a great match on with the two.
See,
Usos, so.
here's what I feel about the Bludgeon Brothers. Like, I feel like them and War Machine should have just been paired together.
Maybe that's what they're working towards, though.
Yeah, but I feel like,
But is
at
that too
Mania,
powerful?
I think it's at Mania. I think it's a perfect way to just boom.
I think it's the same thing we were saying about like guys like Ricochet and EC3. It was just it'd be too rushed for those guys to be at this Mania. I think you're looking at next year's Mania.
I think a lot of people know about. War
They
Machine.
do. Tons.
Where's
But
with Ricochet?
to build the
it's
program?
King Puma, Prince Puma in one thing, and then you got Ricochet over here. People know War Machine as War Machine.
To be able to build a program with WWE talent against them, they didn't have enough time.
I don't think this. You know what? I don't think this is an insult to the Bludgeon Harper and Rowan. WrestleMania would be a stronger card without them, or have them go in. I wouldn't even have them on the card, and they're on either Raw or SmackDown the night or the 2 nights after, and they're destroying whoever the tag team champions are, who I had to fight a battle to win that match. So yeah, I think that makes it weakens the card.
Yeah, because they're still in the process of establishing themselves as a team.
Yeah.
And I think we want to see, or we should want to see, Usos New Day. What a great match!
Yeah, that would have been a good match. Yeah.
So predictions?
I see the New Day going over. I love the Usos. Big Uso fan, but I see the New Day going over.
I'm gonna go the Usos.
I'll say new tag team champs in the Bludgeon Brothers.
I'm gonna go Usos. What do we think about the Bar versus Braun Strowman and whoever his mystery partner is?
Well, who is the mystery
Has
partner?
anyone reported on that?
Mr.
I
Justin
believe
Barrasso.
someone.
What are we hearing?
This person is no longer facing John Cena, but he may be.
If he's healthy, I
Okay.
still believe that Rey Mysterio, and I know that today, so it's right now it's Saturday morning, but Mysterio cut an interview today and said he would not be at WrestleMania. So a few people tweeted me and said, "What have you been talking about?
Right.
What's Rey supposed to say?" Actually, I'm not supposed to tell anyone this, but yeah, I'm going to be at Mania's. No, of
I
course
believe
not.
the Hardys
Right.
did that. A couple
Jeff
years
Hardy
back,
last
too.
year said they would not go bad because he has to. If Rey's healthy, he will be at Mania wrestling, and I think it would make sense. It's in Vince's wheelhouse to have the biggest guy team with the smallest guy, and that's a good match. Plus, I think that if Rey does come back, it's short term. If Rey does come back, you got a guy built into that feud who can take the pin, whether it's at Mania, whether it's at Raw the next night or the next week. You got a guy because you don't want Braun to lose the belt or drop the fall. You want Rey to, and that's not an insult if Rey gets pinned by Cesaro or Sheamus, who's a multiple-time world champion, right?
Yeah.
Sheamus at least twice.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but if Rey is
3
healthy,
time actually.
3.
2 WWE ones and 1 World Heavyweight Championship.
Where the Memorial Battle Royal is on the card in terms of pre-show or actually on the card, I think tells you a lot to who Braun Strowman's partner is going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want him to walk with Elias. I think that is probably the best.
But they're
pairing
building
that
up a
they
huge
have.
element of surprise, and I don't
That's
think
the
that's a
thing.
big surprise.
Yeah,
I
I
want
want-
Elias anymore.
You know who I want? I want Lashley.
That's an unstoppable
I know.
force.
I want Lashley.
To me, you need why Rey fits so well. You need a guy who can take the pin.
Yeah. I
And-
agree.
And get a huge pop.
I agree.
And so
WrestleMania moment,
I
all
don't
that.
I can't think of anyone in the world who would do it better than Rey.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I agree.
Unless they're bringing James Storm out of the blue, and people are like, who the hell is this guy?
A WrestleMania crowd,
not,
they're
not
like,
disrespect to James Storm because he's an awesome in-ring
Right.
performer, but I'm just saying, like, overall, people are like,
The Rey response, though, on YouTube was bigger than I mean, I'm sure that turned some eyeballs in the company. There were more views on YouTube for the Rey video from the Rumble on YouTube than there were for Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they did, and I'm sure in terms of money paid, they paid more for Ronda than Rey. So that must have turned some heads. Rey draws. Rey's a legit box office hit.
all right, so for predictions, think the bar goes over, or do you think Strowman and his mystery partner?
I think Strowman is mystery partner.
I say Strowman and the mystery partner as well. You don't want to see Strowman on the losing side of things. It's not smart. It's not good for business.
And I think you need to turn, I don't want to say smaller, like you can have the titles change early. So you can have tag titles change. You can do things like that because I think that You got to stop that at some point though, because you want you can't have 7 title changes and then or 6 title changes then go to your main event. So yeah, I think that they will win the tag titles. Braun on the mystery partner.
All right. Charlotte, Asuka.
Ooh. Expert in the room. Justin, go for it.
I don't think the streak ends. I wish, though, I feel like I'm criticizing every match. The later it gets, the crankier I'm getting. But what a greater match, story-wise, this would be. Charlotte's undefeated pay-per-view streak versus Asuka's undefeated streak. How can we be so short-sighted just to throw that away in a fast lane for no good reason? Oh, it's so frustrating. But I think that'll be the match. One of the matches of the night. I think we crown a new champion, and the streak continues.
I think we see a surprise, and we see Charlotte win this match. I know. That's I just like surprises, but I think they have a storyline with Charlotte being the queen. You see, they're trying to build Ronda Rousey. I don't think you can have the chemistry between Ronda Rousey and Asuka that you can have with Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. And Charlotte already has that stable, the 4 horsewomen. Ronda Rousey's about to get her stable, so I think they're building towards that. So I think we see Charlotte with the upset.
I think neither one. I think Carmella cashes in and she pins Asuka.
Oh, shocker.
Okay, I see that as well. That's my plan B. I also see Charlotte somewhat, in terms of the strategy, sitting, just being literally like a sitting duck where she's supposed to be in the throne, holding it down for Asuka to come along and do her thing. But if not, I see the cash in happening. But I don't see a successful night for Charlotte.
Yeah, can't end the streak though. I think it's too soon, but I agree. Charlotte won't leave as champion.
It'd be weird to see Carmella cashing on that match though. I more see her cashing on the Raw Women's Championship match because they never specified with that Money in the Bank that what company brand.
And that'd be fun
to
cash in another title.
Right.
I think an interesting thing about that is The Rock there? If The Rock's there at Mania, Nia Jax wins the belt. If he's not there, maybe they could have a moment.
You have Nia Jax and Roman Reigns both winning.
If The Rock's there, you want to make that man happy. The only person they want to make happier than it's Ronda Rousey and The Rock. So,
all right. So moving on, fatal 4-way for the U.S. Championship: Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode, Rusev Day, Jinder Mahal. Who you got, Justin?
Another match that's tainted by multiple members. Why not just have Rusev win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Why not just have Orton versus Roode? Like Mania matches, special Mania matches, memories are one-on-one encounters or tag teams, 2-on-2. You can't have all these multi-man matches. It's my cross to bear right now. I think it ruins this match too, or it doesn't enhance it. I'd give the belt to Rusev personally, but I think Bobby Roode probably. The story, if it follows the story arc, Roode wins that title back
in a glorious fashion. I go with Rusev Day. I just think it.
Why throw him in the match otherwise?
I just think they want that backdrop of giving him his moment and people chanting Rusev Day.
I agree with everything Justin said. 100% my prediction. That's it. That's how it goes down. I don't think Rusev leaves champion though.
Why bring him in the match then? Why not just keep him in the Rumble? The Battle Royal. It's so bizarre.
Because he sells T-shirts.
Yeah, I don't know if that's such a weird. I read the Meltzer report too.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say I agree with it.
I'd have him win the Battle Royal. I don't know.
Keep him in the limelight.
Yeah.
It brings the money in.
Triple threat.
Should be a one-on-one match.
WWE Intercontinental Championship match: The Miz, Rollins, Finn Balor.
Another multi-man match.
But I'm not mad with this.
This one will kill it, though.
I agree. This is, but it is.
Yes.
This isn't special anymore because we have so many other multi-mans.
Yeah.
But this is the one that should have been the one multi-man on the card. Absolutely. Jinder Mahal should be in the Battle Royal. I think we're done with Jinder and big spots. Rusev should have won it, and this was a great 3-man match. It looks like a great 3-man match.
Who do you got winning?
Balor.
I think The Miz.
I don't see The Miz. He's got to go hang out with his family.
Yeah.
I see him taking some time off.
No, I think he achieves the greatest Intercontinental Championship threshold, and then he drops it.
Or that.
Yeah.
Much like Zack Ryder did when he got his WrestleMania moment and lost it the next
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great moment, too.
Great. It was amazing. Yeah.
Not enhanced by the fact that he lost it less than 24 hours later, or 24 hours later.
Cena Taker. Although it's not official, we know it's had in there. Cena Taker. Who is your prediction?
I know he's got 2 movies coming up, but I mean, you can't have, even if Taker's not done, he's pretty much done. I mean, I just can't see a way that Cena doesn't win this match. But that kind of hurts Taker's numbers too, Mania-wise. I don't know. I think Cena's going to break the title streak. Not streak, but he's going to hit 17 at some point. Yeah. So you need this match too to put a kind of a feather in his cap on the way to 17. Cena has to win.
I see Taker winning. I think they take the numbers into consideration and the favors, quote unquote, that Taker has let them get away with in terms of what he had going on. I know WrestleMania's numbers and stats in wrestling can be fabricated for the most part, but I think that's something that's very important to Taker and his legacy. And
how old will he look in this match? I wonder. Like how will he move?
Apparently,
well?
he's been working out. He's in good shape. You see Michelle McCool's Instagram postings, and he's looking good.
You think he does DDP yoga?
I certainly hope he is.
I think if he did, DDP would be shouting about
we
it.
know about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Taker.
I think there's a chance Taker takes it, though.
I think Taker goes over. Now I'm going to flip flop these matches because I feel one of them should be the main event. We'll go with Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I believe it's unanimous in who we all think is going to win this match. Correct?
To me, that's the main event. Not that it should be, but they close the show with that match.
Yeah. But I think we all in agreement. Roman Reigns. They've built for it since last year.
3 years, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have happened. It was supposed to happen in 31.
Yeah, they got cold feet. You know what I mean, and had Rollins cash in.
I think
it's long overdue, and I like the way they're trying to build it, and
it's clean. He beats him. There's no doubt that Brock could have done. No,
he kicks out of an F5.
Maybe multiple ones.
Yeah.
Once you see the multiple ones,
then you know.
It's done.
Well, he did it at the last the first time they faced off. So I think they're like protecting. They're purposely protecting the F5 for that moment for when he kicks out. But yeah, I like the build to the match. I like Roman's personality that's going along with it. Long overdue. Do I think the WWE audience is going to be into the match? Not really.
It'll be so late into the night by then too. Yeah. How do you get Roman cheered in that match? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about getting him cheered. It's at the point where it's just like
I think you need
Brock
to tell the crowd off that he never liked it there. And you can have him easily apologize if and when he's supposed to be at SummerSlam. He can apologize, but if you have Brock tell the crowd that this is a joke, he's only going to win the match because he's better. Like I think that could get if you really need people behind Reigns, which they do. I think you go all out.
Yeah, but I think even like Brock can probably just go off, but I think they still won't cheer Reigns just because he is the company guy.
Right.
And it's like he's being forced to the people.
Couldn't hurt to try.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Now, does Brock need to do that on Monday night? Or does he need to do that at WrestleMania to rile up the crowd?
I would do both, especially that if it's it's supposed to be over 6 hours, 7-hour show. I think you open that match with Heyman on the mic and Lesnar. They for a reason, and which is funny because he's so good on the mic. Lesnar grabs the mic and
snatches it away from him.
I got something to say, and he tells the crowd how awful they are and how this business is a joke, and the only reason he's here is to make money, and he's going to win this match and make more money. I mean, you get the hardest core wrestling fan in the world from all over the world at this show. It wouldn't go over well. Roman's music hits, which I despise how the champion comes out first and challenger follows, but and then I think you'd have to get the crowd behind Roman if that was the case.
Yeah, but I think if you really want Brock to get booed, I think in him telling off the crowd, he mentions his first WrestleMania match with Goldberg. I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Love it.
Like
love it, Jay. Yeah.
So, last but not least, the dream match of all dream matches that happened before, but they're trying to build.
Did it really? If it didn't happen in a WWE ring, did it really happen?
Oh, it definitely happened.
Sure?
It definitely did. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
It's just, the program is not a joke, but it's such a joke at the same time that they keep calling it a dream match. I'm saying the obvious. It's like, how is it a dream if it's happened before? It's already happened, man. Come on. Yeah. Why are you still rolling with that?
Because it hasn't happened stateside.
Didn't happen in their ring,
but to a lot of new fans and to a lot of younger fans, it is a dream match. They've never seen that before.
Luis, it is what we tell you it is.
Right.
It's a dream match.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they hear WWE telling you that, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
Right. That's what it is. A lot of people didn't even know what NJPW was a couple years ago or even last year. And so
No, I agree. I think the vast majority of the audience is are WWE fans.
Like the mainstream audience. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And the Hardys a good example. The Woke and Matt's a good example. Like they really did a reintroduction to that because not everyone's watching Impact.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, to me, and I hate that everything goes back to Roman, but everything goes back to Roman. You need to have Styles keep the title here. And that really punctuates the Reigns win because you can't have too many titles change in the same night. It just doesn't work. They become a little less meaningful every time. I hope it's special. I hope they make the most of Tuesday night because I don't feel like we have enough reason for this match. I like the mind games Nakamura played last Tuesday.
That was cool.
Yeah, but I'd like to know why he'd like to be WWE champion. Why did he pick AJ Styles after winning the Rumble? Who is he? There's so much about Nakamura that we don't know. And we're running out of time before Mania to find out. But I'd like to see Styles retain, personally.
I
Keep
think
this
he
going.
will. Yeah, I think he will. That's your prediction?
I'm going Styles.
I'm going Styles as well. I think this is his WrestleMania moment. This is his pinnacle, his thank you for what you've done so far. You've earned it. Enjoy it. Bask in it. Shinsuke will have his own WrestleMania moment. That'll come maybe next year, the year after, but now is not the time for Shinsuke to overshadow what AJ has done.
I completely agree. We just did an interview last week, and that was actually in person, the Styles interview. I hope it read that way, too. And I said to him, like, to me, this isn't the Nakamura moment. This is the Styles moment.
Yes.
This is the chance to show that you are the primetime player of this company, that you can redefine what wrestling is in a sports entertainment company. And he looked at me and said, if I haven't done that already, I can't do it now. But I disagree with that entirely. He's got a fire that burns inside of him. He knows that Mania is his moment. This is his moment, not the Jericho match, not the Shane match. This is the one to show that what he can be to this company, even at an advanced age. I'm using quotation marks.
So,
at 40, 41. He can be their guy.
I think the telltale match will be Asuka Charlotte. If Asuka goes over, I feel Shinsuke's going over. And I think they have that moment, Guerrero Benoit-esque.
Interesting.
Would be cool to see.
I don't think they get in the ring together and hug, but I think just having that picture, that just knowing that.
So you think once we see, I think Asuka wins, then that means Nakamura's going over?
Yes.
Interesting.
And I think Nakamura can't take a loss here, especially when SummerSlam they built him up, he took the loss.
Terrible match too.
Took the loss the following month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I to build him up bring him back to Royal Rumble, have him win. I don't see him losing in this moment.
It's a great point. They used him as a pawn for Jinder Mahal. Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of hype around him, and so I think the telltale match, honestly, is if Asuka wins the championship, I think then Nakamura wins. Now, personally, I want to see AJ win as well. I think Nakamura can win it down the line at the SummerSlam. I think that'll be perfect. Start the Nakamura in the land of the rising sun during the summertime. Perfect. Do I think it's good for business for him to lose at WrestleMania? No. But AJ needs that moment. It's the pinnacle. He has been the flag bearer for that company ever since he's got this, since the Royal Rumble. And it's only right to reward him for it.
I think that a key story will be to follow throughout the night, like how many title changes have we had?
Yeah.
And that'll be a big, because if there's already 5 going into that match, it's like, oh. Or if it's only 2, I just think how many times, because we know Reigns is winning. I don't know if he's closing the show, but Reigns is winning the belt.
Yeah.
So there's 1. So how many title changes are they willing to? You're not supposed to do, like, they shouldn't do more than 3. So we'll see.
I mean, WWE likes to keep us on our toes every now and then to give us the something we don't expect. Now, I believe AJ Styles' contract is coming up as well. Like, I think it may be done post Mania.
He could return home to TNA.
No way.
No?
I mean, there's no home there. It doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
It is funny, though, they call Styles like he was the face of New Japan. He was in New Japan, 18 months?
Yeah.
He was the face of TNA for a decade.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
there's
I
some
see him more as a TNA guy.
Some revisionist history.
Same with Samoa
there.
Joe.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, in your mind, in your heart, what's the main event?
Oh, Styles Nakamura. It's hard to say, though, because, I think they gave you that match, or us that match. We can't complain. We have it. In some ways, though, it is Reigns, Lesnar. I know people don't want to hear that, but they've put so much behind Roman. And I'm excited. Like, what is he going to do as world champ? I like Roman. I think he had a great 2017. I'm actually really excited to see what he's got in store as champion. It's different as champ. We were joking earlier, I believe it was on the air, about Kevin Nash when the business was down, when he was Diesel and world champion.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels didn't like the first go-round being champ. It's not easy. The company's on your shoulders. You got to draw. You got to make sure houses are full. You got to make sure kids are happy. So I think it's going to be I think for Roman's case, he's a lot more ready now than he was 3 years ago. I think he's the right guy to be champ. I'm thrilled that they have AJ as well to be another champion. The tough thing is, though, if you're going to go to dual-branded shows, how do you have two champions? Who's the guy? Like in the 80s, in 87, if you told Hogan, we're going to have another guy who's equal to you, you're just as good as, you're still our champ, though. That's mind-boggling. That makes no sense. So I don't know how you have dual-branded shows, which they're going to post-Mania, and have two champs. Well, who's your champ? You can only have one. So, and Roman's going to be the one. So I think that, I think those are the two matches. Asuka, Charlotte, those three matches really are the ones that I'm going to pay attention to the whole night, but those are the ones that I'm most excited to see.
Jay, do you want to weigh in?
Obviously, it's Nakamura's Styles, but I just think for some reason Vince can't get past himself in that regard because he didn't create those superstars.
Interesting.
And I think this history alone tells that story. But yeah, I mean, of course, Lesnar, Roman Reigns is going to close out, but in the eyes of the people, it's definitely Nakamura Styles. That is the match. People, if WWE got behind it and build it as like the main event and not a double main event, I think people would be more inclined to be like, yeah, that's awesome. You'll hear so much more about it. But now everyone knows it's like Brock, Roman, and they're like, we've seen it before. Okay, you add a little twist in here now. We still know who's going to win the match.
Which is so funny because for us as adults, and I think your audience is adults, wrestling's so unique. You've got 8-year-olds, you've got 38-year-olds to impress, you've got 28-year-olds, you've got, and who spends the money? It's the parents of the kids. So it's just such a unique. I'm glad they're having. I don't mind the fact that Reigns, Lesnar will close the show, but I'm glad they're also taking care of people like us because we're not going anywhere. If Mania stinks, you're still going to watch next. At this point, we can't leave. It's like we're stuck.
We're invested. You got years in this.
Yeah, we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere.
The whole like cancel the network hashtag thing just cracks me up. You guys aren't doing that.
No, we're not. At this point, we're never leaving.
No,
we're not.
Here to stay, and they know that. They know that.
They know that for sure.
Justin, man, thank you.
This is a pleasure.
Thank you. First multi-time guest in Unsanctioned short, amazing history.
But before we go,
appreciate it.
Please tell the people where they can find you and when you release your articles, which he did say every Wednesday for those who weren't paying attention. But
The Week in Wrestling every Wednesday on SI.com. I'm at Justin Barrasso at Twitter. This week, and I hope this posts Tuesday-ish, so that it'll be I'll put it in the column on Wednesday. This week, we'll have a special notes, quotes, and anecdotes piece on Friday, which I started on. I think I started writing that piece December 30th. It's just a fun piece because it goes into a little bit of Mania history. There's guys you don't normally hear from. And I tried to save a quote throughout the year, like a Hogan interview. Save a quote from Hogan about Mania. Sting's in that Bryan quote when I drove out to Springfield and did an interview with him. I saved the Bryan quote. You name it, they're AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Bill Goldberg. But other people, too, that are, maybe you wouldn't expect. Kevin Eck, was a writer on the creative team, and there's so many. Court Bauer, who tells a story about the original plan for Ric Flair's retirement, which connected Dusty Rhodes and bringing Sting back in. So there's just so many facets to that. That's the columns on Wednesday, and then on Friday we'll have the notes, quotes, and anecdotes, and then I should have stuff as well from New Orleans. I think we'll have a piece on Sunday before Mania. We'll have a piece on Monday, takeaways. So yeah, there's a lot in store. I hope people enjoy, and if you take the time to read, all my gratitude.
We'll take the time to read. That's some blockbuster material.
Always read,
and we'll push that out on our end as well.
And sometimes, I also gotta defend my boy on Twitter here when they be trying to come for his head, man. It's tough.
You can't make everyone happy.
No, you can't.
It's tough. But Justin, on behalf of the Unsanctioned Podcast, we definitely thank you. You know what I mean? You're gracious to the program, the podcast. First guest ever on the first episode ever. come back for I want to say the longest episode ever and the biggest episode ever.
To the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Biased. I can't say enough nice things about you guys as friends and colleagues and men I respect. So, it's a pleasure, and
thank you.
I really hope we can do it again.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, to our listeners, make sure you guys tune into us, man. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and, of course, the Gorilla Position of the Unsanctioned Podcast, fightboothpw.com. Once again, man, this is Jay Holland. You can find me at JAYOCITY. Let's on Facebook at that 781 at the end.
And I'm Luis Vasquez. You can find me on Twitter at Luis Vasquez617 and follow the podcast on Twitter as well and Facebook at Unsanctioned PW.
And, of course, if you have any comments, you want to let us know who you want to hear from, send us an email, unsanctionedpodcast@gmail.com.
Get hyped for WrestleMania.
Oh, man.
NXT and the Hall of Fame and all of that.
We just went through the whole
Some Kenny
everything.
Omega as well.
I know, Kenny.
Jericho.
Omega
Not
Rhodes.
Jericho.
Omega Rhodes on Saturday night.
Omega Rhodes.
And Jericho's live with in Hampton Beach. So
Oh.
Fozzy.
Fozzy.
You already know, man. This is the Unsanctioned Podcast. We are now unsanctioned over your airwaves. Peace and love, y'all.
Gotta bring the city back, let them know we still here, never